Meeting to order, and can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Reeves? Here. Councilmember Tripp?
Here.
Councilmember Knight?
Here.
Vice Mayor McKee? Mayor Moeller?
Here. Can we get, our first item is to adopt the agenda for the Finance Authority. Can I get a motion, please?
Move adoption of the agenda. Move adoption of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? That passes unanimously. Next item, election of officers. Town clerk, are you gonna, do we need to, didn't we do that earlier in the year?
No, this is just a standing template for your annual meeting that's been adapted to include the consent calendar item for today.
Okay, great. So we're going to move along to approval of the minutes. And if anybody, any changes? Seeing none, can we get a motion to adopt the minutes from March 4th, 2025?
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? That passes unanimously. And public comment. Oh, we do have public. Does public have any comments on our Finance Authority? Seeing none, we will bring it back to the consent calendar. We have one item, which is to adopt a resolution approving the intention to reimburse expenditures related to the Yountville Commons. We have a staff report.
Yeah,
you want to talk about on
Thank
this?
you, Chair and President, I guess is the proper title for this meeting. As you know, there are actually 4 identical reports for all of the legal entities that the town has, or at least 4 of the legal entities, which is the Finance Authority, the Housing Authority, Parking Authority, and the town. And as we talked about this last week, you know, they're all on consent, but I wanted to make one report along with Celia that, in essence, is the same report. I know that when we meet again at 3 o'clock, if there are similar questions, we're happy to discuss it again then. And I'll let Celia get into the details. But in essence, what we're doing through a reimbursement resolution is giving ourselves the ability, if we issue bonds, to reimburse us for the costs that are not part of the bond. So it allows us to reimburse us for eligible expenses through an issuance of debt. The reason we're doing it for all 4 authorities, or all 4 legal entities, is that we're still not sure, as we work through all of the things that we're doing to provide options to the council and the community as we work our way towards construction. So there's different I don't know what the legal term is in terms of different rights that these authorities or abilities, maybe is a better word, that these entities have. And I'm still trying to sort that out with Gary. You can ask those questions, but you know, financing obviously is and we have used the Finance Authority in the past for things that have been constructed through bonds. The Parking Authority, I don't think really has done anything since it was formed, as I understand it. But it does have limitations, as I understand what it can and can't be used for. And then the Housing Authority, obviously, is something that does a lot of different things. And I think that's something, you know, clearly we will continue to talk about. And then the town, of course, is the general entity that does most things. So, again, there's no specific reason we would, at this stage, talk about the trade-offs of these entities. We just wanted to maintain ultimate flexibility. And I think, you know, to answer the $100 million question, which is always, to me, and I think you might talk about it a little more, but generally speaking, this is a not-to-exceed number. And so it is not by no means offering any authority. It's creating a not-to-exceed number. And as I explained yesterday, and I can explain, you know, more and more as we get these details more refined, is that the vision that was adopted which included 125 roughly housing units and additional civic amenities that you all adopted in April, was it? Whatever the date was. The designer's estimate, and so this is our lead design firm, Kelly and Morgan, has estimated that to be $50 million. 92% of that estimate, just so you know, is housing. So I think as you look at this project, even though it is a new civic center or a civic project, you know, obviously we all know that housing is kind of the heart of it. I will tell you that the next step would be get an engineer's estimate, and the most important step is to get a builder's estimate as we talk about how much this project could cost, and also how this could be phased and how partners could be involved. There's a lot to talk about. So general rule of thumb, which is, you know, kind of a big round number, is, you know, the first estimate, you double it. Because 50 million, first of all, designers are not known for estimating. Engineers are typically, like a John back there, better at it. But until you get a contractor that says, here's what the market is, here's what it is, I don't want to throw out false numbers. So I don't want people to think 100 million is the number. The number is simply a not to exceed number that gives you flexibility as you consider all the options that will be before you over the next year. And truthfully, it could be many years if the phasing, or if really the funding and the financing requires a phased plan. So it doesn't mean you could issue more than one bond if over time it makes more sense. So this is what I wanted to explain from a practical standpoint. Again, happy to explain it in more detail after, or answer any questions after Celia. And then if you want me to say something similar at the 3 o'clock meeting, I'm happy to do it then as well.
Okay, thank you, Town Manager. You said mostly what I was going to say, but I'll go through my staff report highlights just in case. So the action today before you is to set the town's intention to reimburse expenditures that are incurred for the Yountville Commons Development Project with the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds. In order to do this, the IRS does require that the town officially set this intention and adopt it via resolution. So if this resolution is adopted, that will satisfy that requirement. Approval of this resolution in no way obligates the town to issue bonds in the amount of $100 million, but rather states that the town can reimburse itself for up to that amount for costs specific to the Yountville Commons Development Project. A dollar amount is included in the resolution to satisfy a legal requirement. Approval will also set the clock for a 60-day look-back period, which means that the town can reimburse itself for all project-related costs from this day forward, as well as include any hard costs that the town may have incurred within the period of 60 days prior to today. This resolution is being presented, as the town manager mentioned, to the town of Yountville and all of its authorities today, as it will not be determined which entity may incur the debt until a later time. So we wanted to ensure that all entities had met the IRS requirements for when it comes time to issue any bonds. So please let us know if you have further questions.
Yes, we have a question from Councilmember Tripp.
And this would be the same question I might ask when I think it's the same resolution comes up. We did approve a preliminary conceptual approach in March. At what juncture, and I understand this just puts kind of the structure in place should we decide to issue bonds, but I'm not clear, have we actually approved as a council, which I think is a policy issue, how we want to finance this project and what an appropriate approach would be. And at what point, because that is a policy decision, I think, I'm learning the difference between the policy and what you do as our CEO. When would that happen? I have heard it alluded that by approving the conceptual plan, we have approved a method of either financing it or whether it be through bonds, or I don't know if conventional financing is available through commercial banks. I have no idea what the pros and cons might be, and I have no real understanding of the various partnerships that could evolve. I now understand we're talking about 20 buildings that will look more or less the same based on some of the other information in the packet today. So 20 buildings looking more or less all the same. I'm guessing they would be financed as a group, although I don't know. So that's my question. When would the council actually approve that approach for the conceptual design?
I think there'll be a series of steps before you will get to a point where you commit to the funding of it. Our goal is to sort of break it into quarterly milestones, but there will be a series of steps, and one is today. But I think the September 16th meeting, when we return from recess, I think will be a meeting where we will focus a lot of time with the community and the council on kind of where you're at. I view that to be kind of the entitlement stage, which is because we still need to do CEQA and zoning and other things that, precede financing. But at the same time, we can start to refine estimates by qualifying builders and getting more information about what the construction market looks like. I will tell you that February or early next year, let me just say, because I don't want to, but I do have a timeline that we're working towards, but every stop matters, so things can change. But the idea is that early next year, we're in a position where I can clearly tell you with a financial advisor, with good data on the building side, like here are your options for either, when I say funding, like pay-go, like you have this much money in the bank, you can fund this, or issuing debt.
We don't have $100 million, so we know
No.
we're going to have to get money.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right.
No, of course, yeah. And I think what we've said, which I do think is inevitable at some point, is that we will issue bonds. Now, it's a question of
But
when.
when does the council make that decision?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Early next year,
And then
you will
my
have those
question is,
options.
We're taking all these incremental steps, no question. I understand that. Incremental steps that are directed in a certain direction. If we get to that point in February, are we really then at that point committed to that? Because we have designed the building and it's not likely we're going to go into partnerships with people. I don't know. I'm just shooting out there. But it seems to me we could take all the steps, get to February, because we've taken all the steps, never having approved this. I don't think we've approved this approach or looked at options. And so that's my concern. I guess just bottom line, when would we be able to approve it, having looked at other options? Because I think as a policy matter, I would think looking at options is part of the policy decision generally.
Yeah. So what I said is early next year, you will have all the options. What we're trying to do through what we're doing today, all 4 entities are eligible. We'll get into, again, pay-go versus bonding, partnerships, how do you bring other capital to the table. All of that will be available to you, again, early next year. So I think that's what I'm saying. I think the other really important point is when you approved the budget this past year, which was the mid-cycle budget, you did authorize, or you budgeted roughly $2 million for us to go through the planning stage. So this is all the money that you have authorized as policymakers for us to put you in a position through this fiscal year. And obviously early next year will be in the middle, so we won't have exhausted all of the money that's been budgeted. So you can then make a turn, and this becomes the options that, you'll have. And, it's just gathering all the data, truthfully, which is, very important. But I think what you're considering today, again, is this IRS sort of trigger that will give you options. And I think it gives us then ultimate flexibility for the town, because that's who is currently spending the $2 million, right? It's the town that has been budgeted both, through Measure S funding and other funding to get you to that point. So, yeah, our intent is to clearly go down this path. I think September will give you a really a clearer vision of how the conceptual plan, if we want to call that, has been refined based on the expertise that has been brought to the table, constructability, horizontal, vertical, all that kind of discussion. So I'm really hopeful that in September you have a much clearer idea. We'll also do outreach with the community so that we can have meetings, open house, that type of setting.
Well, I'm kind of focused on the financing. I mean, I do understand a huge amount of planning has to go on. So then I just wanted to ask you and ask Celia, the 60-day look back. Do you have a sense of how much of either the 2 million that we approved, I think it was the first part of June, or previously has spent on the commons would be available under this resolution should we bond? And I totally get this is just setting the framework up. It's not saying we're going to do any of this.
If I'm understanding, you're wondering how much in the prior 60 days would be eligible for this reimbursement. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can calculate that. And we are at the fiscal year end right now, so we are posting back as well. I'll have to kind of talk with the bond counsel and the financial advisor when they come on board to see if those can be included, since it could be for work that was done, but then invoiced later. So that could influence that amount as well. So we will bring that back to you.
Okay, because I'm guessing most of the payments we make have a vendor code, right? So it's a matter of, pulling up the vendor codes and seeing how much we've paid, right?
Yes, we're also coding it all to the project.
Oh, you are?
So we
Okay,
can track
that's
it through
even
the
better.
project as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, Vice Mayor McKee.
So as a follow-up to that line of questioning, as we go down this path and we're getting further along in the design and trying to get in front of more decisions with the cost from the engineers and the builders, are we limiting ourselves in any way to the decisions that will be available to us come February?
No, I think within the vision that was adopted, you will see in September that those have been refined but not changed. And I think as it relates to options, if we're talking about financing, this gets into things that you will also see in September, which will, even today we had a meaningful conversation about the parcel map, and I think the parcel map will be part of the September package that will give you a clear view on where and really all the buildings in essence will have their own parcels, such that if the buildings in the back, the 20 plus buildings, if we wanted to partner with someone who brought outside capital in, like we can do that as a one-off versus as like a whole development.
Whole package, yeah, I appreciate that. In our hour and a half discussion yesterday, that was meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's, and because Gary's here, we had a really good talk this morning. So again, in September, you'll see the parcel map, but you won't see financing options in September. You'll see things that sort of give you more flexibility and options as we get towards next year.
Thank you.
Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. So I can support this resolution that is really is an incremental step because we're, I think, responsibly looking for opportunities to reimburse the community. But I also feel like what it's important that we focus on is that we're talking about for the whole community's value, really the building of a civic center, and that with housing. So we have a project that will be of immense, I think, community pride and value in the future. But what I see in terms of with this process here is it's an incremental step where we're going through the planning phase for not just housing, but a whole community center, and that we move, and maybe you can just confirm this, is that we're going through an initial process of ground or horizontal planning, which gets us to a point where we're not necessarily at the point where we would be hiring builders and doing vertical planning and in terms of for HVAC or and solar and all that, but we're getting a sense of where we're at for this community center and the ground or horizontal construction, where we get a better sense of what we can build, how we're going to build, and then from there we have opportunities of how we maybe specifically do parts of the housing differently. Yeah. Is that
yeah,
correct,
that's fair. And I think to start with I think the initial statement you made about we're building a civic center, and I think then we have a community center, right? So like at least in Yountville, we talk about the community center as the gym and the library in that area over there. I think what at least the designers don't like I shouldn't say they don't like, they don't use the term civic center, because I think the reality that we all understand, because we're sitting in it, is town hall's already here. You know, and I think when designers think of like, hey, we're building a civic center, they think they're building like a whole new civic complex of buildings and offices, and you know, like we're not doing that. So that's why I say 92% of at least the $50 million estimate is housing. You know, so we are building housing within a civic center. So it's really an important thing to understand, because again, this is a civic center. I mean. And it's a good contrast to a community center, which is much more of like a recreation library type of facility versus, okay, we're going to have buildings here that will be government buildings. But really, we're sitting in the main one. I don't see, you know, other than a meeting room and talking about what we have talked about for a while for civic uses, which has been conversations like, you know, archives and, you know, things. I mean, we obviously have Yountville Fit and the farm stand now, and we're seeing the dog park. All of these things will be integrated. So housing is the key issue, right? Even though I don't want to call it a housing project, because it's not going to be a housing project. It's a civic center project that includes housing. So we will maintain flexibility because of the cost of the housing, of how do we finance it or fund it. And when I say those two words are different, right? Finance would be, hey, we're going to issue bonds, whether those be municipal bonds or conventional debt. I do think conventional debt is on the table here, because you get into tax exempt versus non, you know, the status of the bonds, which is, again, this is January, February conversations, but as a preview, we're setting ourselves up for those options. In addition to having parcels where we could, through subsidies, which are basically, you know, typically county, state, federal subsidies, bring in money for, you know, lower income housing categories, and this gets into matching money. So all of that stuff, I guess, is options, but I think you're on the right sort of frame of mind to think of a civic center with housing, because that's where I feel like this needs to be a public project. And when I say public, I mean the town needs to control and own it from, you know, we're not going to sell town hall, right? So it's like, think of town hall as kind of the heart of the civic center, and then as you see the plan unfold, you know, we will always have our mind on the money, I mean, I have to say, and how we would finance or fund it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Tripp?
I just had one more question, and I got the 20 buildings out of Kelly Morgan's kind of scope of services, which we're going to talk about later. Are you saying the 20 housing buildings will all be on one parcel?
No, all separate parcels.
Each building will have a separate parcel?
Right.
Okay, but they're all going to be designed the same?
Similar, yeah.
Similar,
right. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you would have, just guesstimate, how many parcels?
21.
Okay, thank you.
Now it's time. We're going to take public comment on the consent.
My questions were answered. I have the same question about the 60-day look back.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that, can I get a motion to approve our single consent calendar item for the Finance Authority?
I move approval of the consent calendar item.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That consent passes unanimously. We have no presentations. We have no public hearings. No administrative or regular items. Do we have any staff informational reports? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn to our next authority, which is the Yountville Housing Authority.
Move adjournment to the Housing Authority meeting.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? And now we'll just roll right on into the Housing Authority. So I will call that meeting to order at 2:27. Do we need a roll call? I think we do. Since we're all here, let's do it again anyway.
Councilmember Reeves? Here. Councilmember Tripp?
Here.
Councilmember Knight?
Here.
Vice Mayor McKee?
Here.
Mayor Moeller?
Here. And with that, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? That we've unanimously adopted today's agenda. We already have our officers for the year. And like a motion to approve the minutes held on March 4th, 2025.
I move approval of the March 4th, 2025 minutes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstain? It passes unanimously. Any public comment on anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, I will move it to our consent calendar. Again, we have one item, approving a resolution with the intention to reimburse expenditures related to the Yountville Commons project. Town staff.
No different report, obviously a different entity. Happy to answer any questions about how the entity may be different, but the same report as it relates to the reimbursement resolution.
Okay, Vice Mayor McKee.
I am just curious in the difference of the entities, and since we're doing this with the same $100 million mark, I know we're not going for $300 million, but why do we kind of triple with each authority, triple down?
Yeah, because at the end, and it could, 100 million is the max across the board cumulatively. I think the question of who issues the debt is a question, again, we want flexibility on. Housing Authority clearly is empowered to build housing. As I mentioned in my last thing, 92% of it probably makes the most sense in there from just a nexus point of view, if I can use a legal term. The balance to that is the Housing Authority does a bunch of stuff. The Parking Authority really doesn't do anything. So what real estate people call single purpose entities is the other piece of it. So single purpose entity is basically, okay, it does one thing, therefore it's insulated from the other things it does, so that if something did happen and there was an issue, this insulation sort of protects you from the other entities or the other actions within an entity. So it's something we're going to have to work through, and something Gary and I have talked about. I feel like I'm speaking legalese, but I think the reality goes back to just having flexibility, So and then the financing authority obviously has the ability, of course, to finance, which I think that one's I guess parking authority is next. Sorry. So we did financing and then we do parking. My hope, which was we could talk about in the next meeting, but the parking authority is the only one that doesn't have any activities, but it also has limitations that will make it hard for us to create that single purpose entity that you would see. Real estate developers will always or typically have an entity that's created for a development. So this is what you see a lot with real estate development companies. They'll have however many properties they own, they'll have 50 legal entities, and those are referred to as single purpose entities, at least in my experience. So
yeah, I would just add, there's also debt and appropriation limits that you're familiar with every year during the budget, where there's the GAN limit. There's also debt limits that apply.
Is your microphone on?
My apologies.
Okay.
There are also debt and appropriation limits. So you're familiar when you do the budget process every year, you adopt what's called a GAN limit or an appropriation limit, and occasionally you all go to voters as well. There are also debt limits that apply as well. So the benefit to having a housing authority and a finance authority and a parking authority is that those are separate entities where those calculations are done for those entities and not for the town. And so when you are getting to the point where you're thinking about financing these projects, part of the analysis is what type of financing are you using and who's holding that debt and what's the appropriation and the debt limit that applies to that. So these are all things that are thought through, and it's partly why your predecessors on the council created these other entities and why these other entities were used for other projects in town. So every year you hold a meeting to keep these authorities alive, in part for this exact moment.
yeah, and one thing to add, I asked Celia, we have issued an RFP. We are going to do interviews on July 23rd for the financial advisor. Our goal, assuming we have a recommendation, would be to bring that to you on August 5th, which is your next council meeting. So once you have a FA that you have chosen, this person will also be a third-party resource to not only add to the conversation, but to be, you know, what they're intended to be, which is someone who, again, is looking at all the financing from an objective or at least a third-party point of view before we even get into the underwriting process. So that's just another layer of hopeful information, or information that will hopefully help you as you sort of go down this path.
Okay, we've got some questions. Councilmember Reeves.
Well, maybe you better take Councilmember Tripp because I was ready to make a motion, so.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Tripp has questions.
In the development context, a lot of times the single-purpose entity is set up as a way of containing liability potentially. But I'm assuming here that's really not an issue. The town itself, or maybe I should look at Gary, stands behind this project regardless of the entity that we're using.
Well, so it is part of the... My microphone on? It is part of the analysis. So,
Okay.
so part of what we will be thinking through with the different parcels that will make up the Yountville Commons as a whole is which entity is holding title to it, which would generally be responsible for what's happening on that parcel through the leases or the other contractual arrangements or the tenants that will eventually live there. And then also working with the town's risk pool. So the risk pool that provides pooled insurance for the town will also very likely provide pooled insurance for these other entities in their operations over here. And so the risk pool will have some insight on who will be holding title and things like that. So liability is a piece of it, and it is a way of thinking through those risk or managing risk. So that is part of it.
And maybe it's too premature, but in terms of borrowing, no matter what mechanism you use, $50 or $100 million, the people lending it to us will be looking at the town, correct, to pay it back? Not so much the parking authority. Sorry.
Yeah, so this
laugh,
is,
but,
so I will give a very high-level answer to this because a little bit of this is a bond counsel question and
Right,
a little bit of
exactly.
this is a financial advisor question. But one of the other entities could issue the bonds, but they will need to be backed by some kind of revenue source. So there might be like a lease-back arrangement where the town is leasing and then leasing back so that there's a lease with lease payments that back the payments for the bond. I know that that's one arrangement that can be done. And I believe that was what was done for the community center, although I might like to Celia to confirm that piece.
That's they use certificates of
There you
participation
go.
for that.
So- and certificates of participation is another way to do it too. So yes, there will need to be a revenue source, and that will involve contractual relationships between the town and these authorities in order to secure
the revenue.
that.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay, no more questions. Public comment on this item. Seeing no public comment, I will bring it back for Councilmember Reeves. Would you like to make a motion approving our consent calendar item?
Yes, I think the explanations that have been given have been really concise and make a lot of sense in giving us flexibility and options down the road. And it is what, I don't know if you call it calming, but it is gives a lot of confidence that things that are already have been talked about are quite broad in scope and sort of potential, that I feel like I'm ready to adopt the consent calendar item.
And I just want to add, I totally agree, because these really are kind of more, this is really kind of a mechanism to kind of keep us moving forward. I think you use this is part of an IRS requirement that this be done. So it's one of, I think, many things that we'll be seeing and all kind of learning and helping the public understand as we move forward too. So thanks for that explanation. So that's your motion?
Yes.
And can we get a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, anybody abstain, and that passes unanimously. We have no presentations or public hearings. Any administrative items, any staff informational reports for the, let's see, where are we? Housing authorities? Nope. And any commissioner comments or reports? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn to the parking authority? It is now 2:38.
Move adjournment to the parking authority.
I will second.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve? And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? All right, now I will call to order the Town of Yountville Parking Authority. And can we stipulate the same members are present? We get legal for that, okay? And can I get a motion to adopt the agenda
Move adoption of the agenda.
for the Yountville Parking
Second.
Authority? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? That passes unanimously. We have officers for the year. We have, I need a motion to approve the minutes from March 4th, 2025.
Move approval of the March 4th, 2025 minutes.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstention, any opposition? Seeing none, that is, motion is approved unanimously. Public comment on matters not on the agenda. Seeing our public shake their head, we have no public comment. That's not on the agenda. Consent calendar, again. We have a similar, for the third time, motion to approve the Yountville Commons Development Project for tax exempt bonds up to $100 million. Any additional staff comment?
No additional report.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm ready to adopt the
we
consent,
have
ask a motion to adopt the
Can you
consent
hold
calendar.
that thought for just a second while
Okay.
I ask Councilmember Reeves if she has a question?
I do have a question. We have stated a couple of times that the parking authority might not be the right entity, but what makes it less of the right entity? Does it have more limitations on it?
You want to do it?
Well, I have your memo. It's up here, which I will tell you, in my previous jurisdiction, prior to me joining, there was a Westfield Plaza Bonita Mall that was built on the parking authority. So where there's a parking authority, it acted as the vehicle to do a major development. Again, a whole regional mall. So I was accustomed to working with the parking authority. And in essence, what is the limitations is that it has to be 25% of the surface area has to be parking. And we're actually now calling them parking groves, not even parking lots, because we're sensitive to, as you know, how these parking lots are. And it is true the Plaza Bonita Mall was surrounded by asphalt. So if that is a true, which at least when I read that, I said, this doesn't work. That's just, I think, something to be aware of, a limitation. And I just want to add one other thing, because I think it does relate back to when you were talking about lease back, and I think another obvious thing to me, having done a lot of affordable housing projects that are tax exempt, is that those entities don't pay property tax, and they generate impacts, calls for service, et cetera, that clearly put a burden on services that are typically funded by property tax. So there was a point in time where we used to do what we called pilot agreements, which was a payment in lieu of taxes. Those got banned by the state. The state said you can't do that. It's basically it's a deterrent to affordable housing. But it's a reality that I think everyone needs to be aware of, because at the end of the day, obviously residents generate calls for service, and I think we have to be prepared to pay, those bills, whether it's police, fire, or otherwise. As a result of doing a lease back, I do want to, and I want you to know I'm very focused on having a revenue stream that goes to the general fund that is part of the structure of this project, so that there at least will be revenue that comes to the general fund that addresses some of these costs. Because again, if we add 125 housing units, we add impacts, we will have additional costs inevitably that will grow from public safety. So a lease-back option or something like that does give us flexibility to generate revenue into the general fund. So not to get on my soapbox, but I do feel like this is something that people don't talk about a lot of times with affordable housing that needs to be front and center for us. And I think having a revenue stream that flows into the general fund, a 1% admin fee, there's different ways to structure these, will be something that I will definitely be bringing forward when we get to that point. But it will probably come from the parking authority.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Knight, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I move.
Oh, let me take public comment first. Any public comment on our consent calendar? Nope. You're on.
Thank you, Mayor. I move approval of consent calendar item 7A.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? That passes unanimously. Again, no presentations, public hearing, administrative items, any staff informational reports, and any comments from commissioners? And can we get a motion to approve, to adjourn to our regular town council meeting? It's 2:44 that begins at 3 p.m.
I move to adjourn until our council meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? We are now adjourned. See everybody at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much.
such a hard time. They really had to fight hard to get in.
I know, we're gonna go back to the Stone Age. That's
So
really,
depressed, I don't even read the news anymore.
I know,
I mean,
I can't.
I can't because it's all bad and there's not much I can do.
And it's like,
We are waiting for our town manager, and as soon as we have our, all right, our town manager has arrived.
Department that
Is staff ready? Is council ready? Sounds like everyone's ready. I'm going to call today's regular meeting of the Yountville Town Council to order. It is 3 p.m. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Reeves? Here. Councilmember Tripp?
Here.
Councilmember Knight? Here. Vice Mayor McKee? Here. Mayor Moeller?
Here. Can we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you, everyone. And can I ask the council if I could, I'd like to ask the council if I can get a motion to adopt today's agenda.
I move adoption of the July 15th agenda.
second?
Would you like us use our buttons?
A voice vote is
Voice
sufficient.
vote is fine. Thank you, clerk. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Any opposed, any abstained? That has been passed unanimously. Any council member announcements for today? We have no announcements. And with that, I will move ahead to proclamations and recognition. I see our Director of Parks and Rec. Can you meet me at the podium, please, Samantha? Great. We have someone who knows how to work all the equipment. This is wonderful. So I have a proclamation in recognition of Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreations are essential to the quality of life in communities across the nation, including here in Yountville. And whereas parks and recreation promote health and wellness by supporting the physical and mental well-being of all who live, work, and visit Yountville. And whereas time spent in nature has been shown to improve cognitive function, support emotional well-being, and help alleviate conditions such as depression, attention disorders, and Alzheimer's disease. And whereas Parks and Recreation provide inclusive spaces for physical activity, including sports, walking, fitness classes, and other opportunities that encourage healthy lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs such as summer camps, art and cultural experiences, fitness classes, and lifelong learning opportunities foster growth, connection, creativity, and a strong sense of community belonging. And whereas Parks and Recreation contribute to the economic vitality of communities by enhancing property values, expanding the local tax base, attracting tourism, supporting business retention, and reducing crime. And whereas Parks and Recreation are vital to the well-being, resilience, and vibrancy of the town of Yountville. And whereas the United States House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that I, Margie Moeller, Mayor of the town of Yountville, along with the Town Council, do hereby proclaim July as Parks and Recreation Month in the town of Yountville and encourage all residents and visitors to explore and enjoy the many parks, trails, open spaces, and recreational programs that enrich our community. And a special acknowledgement to Samantha Holland, who runs this wonderful department that we all love so much. Please say a few words.
Okay, thank you. So Mayor and Council, thank you for acknowledging us during Parks and Recreation Month. Today I have Rose Lopez and Caitlin Huss with me from our department. And our other full-time staff members, Garrett, Stacy, and Taylor, are unable to be here today. It takes a lot of work to, make all these things happen. I did think about bringing Taylor and the 80 campers and, 10 staff and 10 CITs into the chambers, but they're in Calistoga swimming, enjoying recreation there. So it does take a big village to do what we do. We have our full-time team, our part-time team, contractors, volunteers, commissioners, all of our partners with the different staff teams here within the town, including Public Works that we work so closely with for our parks and facilities. And really the commissioners and all of the partners, both here within the town and outside, and we're honored to get to work for the people of Yountville. In Parks and Rec, we say we come to work every day to make people happier and healthier. And our goal is really to improve the quality of life for everybody that we come in contact with. I believe we are achieving that every day with your support and encouragement and the support and encouragement of our community. It's been 15 years now that I've been honored to do that here in Yountville, and I couldn't imagine a better place to be with a better team. I think we're very lucky here. And I just want to thank you for your time presenting this proclamation to us this year. It's National Parks and Rec Month for July. Thank you.
And I think our council members will probably have a few comments. Councilmember Tripp, would you like to make yours?
I would just like to thank Samantha and the entire staff, and I know everybody up here we could talk for hours, but I just wanted to say in particular, I personally have enjoyed the Golden Ticket and the many things you offer. And this summer, my 5-year-old granddaughter is over at camp, and apart from the programs themselves, how you all engender such a culture of fun. It's fun. And so I just want to say, and that's a hard thing, not a hard thing, but it starts at the top and it goes through the entire staff. And so I just am very appreciative to have you, and it is kind of the heart and soul of Yountville. So thank you for not just good programs, but fun, compassion, teaching good values. It's really great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I just wanted to congratulate you on selecting team members that have such individual strengths, like Taylor with the camp and with the commissioners. You're really well suited to be able to have all of the diverse things through the Art Commission and Parks and Rec Commission and such. So good job on hiring a team, and I'm glad that Yountville is a place that they have selected to work and hopefully want to stay for many years. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time and acknowledging us. So,
Wait, one more from Councilmember Knight.
Sorry, Councilmember Knight.
Thank you, Director Holland. I just want to say, I just want to follow with everyone else in saying I don't get an opportunity to attend a lot of your programs because of work, but what I love to see and hear is the activity and the energy and just the sounds that in our community when I'm either leaving for work in the morning and hearing the children around the commons or just the activity around the community hall. It's I think it's a blessing for our community to see that energy, and so I want to thank you and for all your team for all the work you do to really bring Yountville alive. So thank you.
Councilmember Reeves, and then you're done.
I just wanted to chime in because what they said, exactly. I think everyone appreciates everything that you all do, and maybe we don't say it enough, but I think it's always top of mind when you think of Yountville. You think of everything that is provided through Parks and Recs for everybody, outsiders and insiders like all of us. Thank you.
Mayor, I have to say one more thing. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to go last because
All right,
I know
you're not done
Sam, and it's great to see you getting the accolades you deserve publicly. I know it's not your favorite thing to do, so I'm gonna pile on just a minute because I want to thank the council first of all, because last year during budgeting, you agreed to fully staff Park and Rec. We had Sam had lost a position through COVID. You put that back into the budget. I think that ultimately became Caitlin, as I recall, which also created the promotion opportunity for Garrett's not here and Rose and so forth. And I just will never forget the day when Sam came in my office. She goes, oh, "I'm just so happy with my staff." It was like such a deep exhale because we all know, everyone in the room, especially, it's a team. But I think you're a great leader, and you're, by providing that extra position, giving her more opportunities to smile and have fun. So thank you to everyone, but especially you, Sam. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you want to take a photo really quick? I wish I could fill it up like Public Works, but we're out there.
Should have brought the 80 kids. That's true.
Yay. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Well deserved. Now it's time for the public comment on anything that's not on today's agenda. Seeing none,
And Mayor,
yes.
quickly, we did receive an electronic public comment that will be forwarded to council and included in the record at the conclusion of the meeting.
All right, great. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for that. I am going to go ahead and move to our consent calendar. Might be getting close to a record. I'm not sure. I think this might be it. We have 10 items. Is the council interested in pulling any items before?
Would like to pull item, I just want to make sure I have the right, item 5D, authorizing the professional design services. Not so much to pull it, but I had a few questions, so I think probably the right thing to do
Okay.
then is to pull it, so thank you.
Thank you. I have just a few questions, just an update for item 4, our contract for fire department, for fire services.
D? No.
I'm
Which one?
sorry. Thought it was item F, but
It is item F. Okay. So with that, first I'm going to take public comment on consent calendar items A, B, C, E, G, H, I, and J. And seeing none, I will bring it back to council if you don't have any questions.
And before we move to approve the consent calendar, just briefly highlight item E, which is adopting resolution 25-4373, approving the Second Amendment to the town manager's employment agreement, and just having to mention the annual base salary increasing to $286,440, and have a one-time performance bonus of $21,483.
All right, thank you. So town attorney, that makes us compliant with that item?
It does.
Okay.
That's the oral report required by the Brown Act.
All right, great, thank you. So we had no public comment, so can I ask the council for a motion to approve items A, B, C, E, G, H, I, and J?
Move approval of the stated consent calendar items.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any abstention? Anybody want to not approve? Seeing none, those are approved unanimously. So now what I'm going to do is we will go with consent item D first, and after our discussion, I'll ask for I'll go to public comment and ask for a possible motion on that one, and then the same with item F. So item D has been pulled for further questions or discussion. So,
Yeah, and I'll just say, as you, Brendan and Carrie are actually on vacation this week, so I am prepared, along with Director Ferns, to answer any questions.
okay, questions of council on consent item D.
Yes, I have a couple questions and comments. So this is, just in case for the public, is a approval of not a commitment that we would necessarily spend $600,000, but it's an approval to allow the town manager, under a professional services agreement with Kelly Morgan, the architects who have helped us through the process so far on the community center planning, to spend up to $600,000 under a professional services agreement. The agreement itself is attached as a kind of a format, but there is a very detailed scope of services attached, which is, I really recommend it to everyone to read it, as well as a schedule. It's one of the best outlines that I've seen of what's going to be going on in the next 6 months. And as Mr. Fern said in his staff report, in the first week in June, we approved spending up to I think around $2 to $2.5 million, which doesn't mean it will be spent, but under professional services agreements where, and so this is, as I understand it, Director Fern's in addition to that money that we already approved. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I do have a question about this under the professional services agreement. So this provides that this firm will do a lot of the planning in the next 6 months with a lot of the deliverables, and the deliverables are listed that'll come between now and February for the most part. And the deliverables are basically it speaks to 20 buildings over the site. And it includes, and I'll just kind of name off the deliverables, because I do think it is worthwhile thinking about the level of detail of planning that's going to be going on in the next 6 months. It will include in Section 2B, functional program document, which is, and I'm just giving you the name that's in the contract, a room-by-room program matrix with actual room sizes, square footage, any special design considerations, which I take to mean if we wanted to have a laundry facility for people in Yountville and those in the units, that would be a special design consideration. So all that will be done in the next 6 months. So it includes the functional program document. Another deliverable is the conceptual site plan, which will be an arrangement of all the buildings, and it speaks to 20 buildings, circulation paths, vehicle access, location of utilities, drainage considerations, ADA compliance, fire lane compliance. The other deliverable is schematic level design drawings, which will include, and I'm not sure exactly what a single level floor plan is, but basically floor plans of all the buildings, elevations, roof plans, drainage, and also it's not a final design, it says, but it is a guide to the design build teams. And then the next thing it will give us is a design criteria manual, which would include life safety regulations, which I certainly expect to be complied with, some design criteria for the data infrastructure in the buildings, acoustical and thermal lighting, security and data systems. And so that's the design criteria manual. And then there's a lot of very detailed things that will come out of this. So I guess my question is, I have a couple questions about that because I didn't get to see the final contract. And sometimes it's worth actually looking at the contracts. So there's a lot of very detailed information, and yet it's clear that it says in here that this firm is not going to be the architect of record. So I guess one of the things that occurred to me is if you look at something like the design criteria manual with all these, like the life safety requirements, the egress, the ingress, security, isn't a design build firm who takes this on with their own architect of record, are they not going to end up having to revisit this, revalidate a lot of this? Because I believe, and you could correct me, but the architect of record, that's not just a title. You actually taking on legal responsibility and also project responsibility. So that is one question I had about this, is will that end up having to be, because as I understand it, we go through this phase, and then we will actually let the contract, the design build contract, and yet you heard all the things I said we're going to be doing. Will that not need to be redone by the design build firm? Or certainly on some of this, they're going to want to revisit it, re-verify it. They may have their own standards. In my line of work, we used to, a lot of consultants had peer review. You don't just take stuff from one to another, especially if you're going to have legal responsibility. So anyway, that was my one question.
Sure.
The next question was, it speaks to this of having sub-consultants, which would be, I think, engineers and whatnot. I don't know if that's really verbiage or if there really will be sub-consultants, because that's just a good thing to know. I like to know that. And then it also speaks here to optional services. So optional things, which is understandable, cost of estimating, value engineering, going to a bunch of meetings. So when I see something like that, that kind of implies that we have a contract here for a scope of services for X amount. And then, of course, if you want more, you pay more. But I haven't seen the contract. Is that what this contract is? Or is it sort of, for lack of a better word, we pay as you go? In other words, Brandon does, or whoever from his firm does X amount of work and submits an invoice. And then I kind of wondered, well, what are all these deliverables? Yeah, so I'm trying to understand the contract structure. So those are, I think, my main questions.
Okay. I'll take a crack at John. You can fill in the gaps. First of all, the design build approach does create a bridge between the design team that we're working with now with the design build team, which would have to have both a general contractor that would give a guaranteed maximum contract and an architect that would be the architect of record. So the architect of record obviously is the one who has to finalize the designs, which means getting the permitting, et cetera. But I think one of the keys to the design build process is rather than the design bid build process, which is traditional, you don't have to go 100% so that you get hard bid construction. You also are able to pick the best value versus the lowest responsible bidder. And by picking the best value through a RFP process that we've talked about, RFQ comes first. We qualify teams that have the capability. But the second process then becomes, give us a bid. We're able to, there will be a dollar amount in that bid, but part of the dollar amount will be, here are some ideas we might have to make the building more efficient.
Well, we will have just finished this maybe $600,000 project, so there's more than just ideas.
No, the design criteria for us, I mean, the good thing about our vision is it's pretty specific. Like,
well, is he going to do all this work? Because it's more than specific. I mean, we're talking about building layouts, roofs, drainage.
But I think, and Gary can chime in terms of what the law allows, but you do have to use the term design criteria, because we were playing around with percentages, and the reality is even though it will be a percentage of construction drawings, this is where the design build teams have to have that flexibility, I think, that you're pointing out, to finish the design. But it will be based on a number they provide, and we will be able as a town to listen to the proposals and make the best value judgment, because we want to make sure we have high quality in all of those aspects.
I'm really focused on this contract. So do you see this, will we be spending this $600,000 for these deliverables? Will we get these deliverables?
Yeah, well, I think yes.
What will the contract look like?
Yeah, so it's,
that's
we're
what the
transitioning.
item is before us that I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so we're transitioning Kelly Morgan from what would be a typical professional service agreement to an on-call agreement. So on-call agreements are not to exceed. We provide task orders to them to achieve the deliverables that you see here. I think that, most of the stuff that you are reading in the contract will be delivered within 600,000. He has a range when you look at the timeline of 400 to 600.
I didn't see that. That's not.
Yeah. The last page of the scope of services is a Gantt chart.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. Sorry
and at
about
the
that.
base of that, you can see a low range, high range, which actually ranges from 480 to 600.
Okay.
And it actually matches up with the deliverables. So I think that Gantt chart is a really good one-page summary of the contract.
So does that fit, Gary, with an on-call agreement?
I'm sorry, does which part fit with
Does
an
this
on-call?
whole arrangement fit with an on-call where you have deliverables, and on-call would intimate, when you need help, you have the ability to contract with somebody, and the town manager doesn't have to keep coming back?
Right, yeah, it does, yeah.
Okay.
So the way that the task order or work order, I think we might have switched the name to task order in the agreement, the way that will work is that task order will say, here's the very specific thing we would like you to do, which is already included in the scope of work here, which is the attachment we've been discussing. And here is your not to exceed amount for this particular task.
Okay.
And until they receive that task order, they will not be doing any work at all. But there will be a mini scope of work and a mini not to exceed amount, both of which have to be based on the scope of work that's included here, and also not to exceed the overall not to exceed amount of the 600,000. And so that allows the town manager, part of that is about approvals and how we go, but it's also about being able to oversee the work of specific consultants for specific pieces of the project, right? So if town staff is saying, okay, we're working on this specific thing right now, you then issue a task order to one or more of the on-call consultants to do that piece of it by a certain deadline, effectively.
And then thank you. And then my final question is, so this is a level of detail, when we get down to actually the build out of some of the mixed use part of this development. Actually, I have two comments. So is your view that, and all of this eventually, for better or worse, has to do with money, is it your view that as all this proceeds over the next 6 months, we will in parallel have somebody help us figure out the finances of all this? Is that sort of your view?
Yes.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier at a previous meeting that we have an RFP out currently for a financial advisor, an FA, which is that third party that kind of follows along with funding and financing options.
Okay, so if they came in and said, for example, the cash flow on 50 units of 2 bedrooms is not going to carry this bond payment, you need whatever, 1 bedrooms or studios. At that point, you would make that change in this process of design?
Yeah, you could. I mean, this is why Brendan talks a lot about form-based architecture. You've heard him talk about that. So that generally means that the form of the buildings will be the same, but the inside of the buildings can change depending on, studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, et cetera.
Okay. And then I just have one final comment, which again, in his old agreement, he had, I think, $1 million per occurrence of professional liability. I think for a contract like this, which involves things like fire systems, security, data, you need, I would check with your risk management authority. I would generally think you need much more insurance than that. Nobody plans to get sued, but the first line of defense is to make sure other people have adequate insurance.
Yeah, for sure. We will do that. Thank you.
Any other, Councilmember Reeves?
I just wanted to make an observation and sort of chime in on this item. I understand that Kelly Morgan, who helped the community sort of solidify our vision, right? And I feel like it's really important for them to continue on with this process because they're the capable guides for the details and of our vision and our concepts for this whole property. And I feel like they're the ones who will make sure that whoever wins the contract of design build will honor our vision, right? It's not always a clear process, and sometimes things don't get honored. So I really am in favor of having someone like Brendan Kelly and Carrie Morgan to really carry our vision forward through all the meetings that are going to be hashing out all the details and making sure that we can build this for the price that we can afford to do. And then the design build firm will be offering a different thing to us, which is a way to accomplish our goal. I think we have to have both things so that we make sure we actually end up in the place we thought we were going. So I really am in favor of this particular contract and the scope of their work.
Yeah, and to that point, what I will tell you is, again, back to the legal framework, the current design team cannot participate in the design build process. They're legally not allowed to because they're involved, obviously, creating the design criteria they'll be bid on. However, they can transition to what people refer to as an owner's rep. And you will see actually in the optional services, it gets into post-award support. And there's a lot of work when you start building something, which gets into requests for informations and change orders and the world that John lives in a lot. So we intend, obviously as this process unfolds, is to maintain that relationship through an owner's rep, which is allowed per the law. But they're not, the same. They're not creating the same liability to the the architect of record. So I think all of those things are being figured out. We are just focusing on this contract, which to me does not get us into post-award support, even though he's listed it as an optional thing. I think that will be like, okay, now we have a construction contract, and this will be a whole nother conversation about money. But you're right, that continuity to getting what we want, is critical, because a lot of times when you get into value engineering things, as we all have seen, like you lose the beauty of the project because you're taking out the fixtures that are what people, I guess supported, whether it's, fountains or, you can even get into like things like parking lots, right? Where, hey, we all saw trees and we saw permeable, gravel, and now we have asphalt and twigs. Like that doesn't work. So this is where I know that Brendan and Carrie will ensure that we realize our vision.
I just wanted to, also support what Councilmember Reeves said too. I remember years ago, back to the community center, we had some great architects who designed what the council wanted at the time, was based on LEED certification, and then they left because the design builders came in, and the builders had a lot of difficulty actually building what the designers wanted. So it was a lot of unusual back and forth, and there were lawsuits, and all that is water under the bridge now. So anyway, live and learn. Councilmember Tripp.
I didn't really get an answer, and maybe it's more of a John question, but it kind of goes to what Margie said. So we have a pretty big design effort. That's why I went through all this verbiage about what is going to get produced. This is well beyond conceptual. Is this not going to have to be revisited, as Margie said, by the architect of record? So that I wanted to ask that question.
I can start. So there's two concepts here. We have this architect who's developing the vision. This is a very unique project, and so that vision is very important. And then there's the concept of the production architect. So each of these buildings that we're envisioning to be built out there is going to require a set of plans this thick that rolls up to a tube about this big around when they submit it for review to the building department. So the design build team has the production architect that's going to take what we've decided we want this building to look like and put all of those pieces together and put the plan set together to meet the California Building Code and all the state requirements and local requirements to actually permit and build that building.
Okay, so it won't have to be revisited by the design.
No, this will drive
what
they
doing.
put on their plans to meet the building code and get the permits.
Okay, and then my only final comment is none of this, I'm going through some of this so that, because people are always asking me, how is this going to roll out? And so I think it's worth just publicly, because this is a very good document as to how it's going to roll out. I think Brandon and his wife have done an incredible job, so none of this is a comment on that. I just want to understand how we're going to roll it out.
Yeah. And I just want to say, since we have our friends from the fire department and PG&E in the room, and I saw Jason is the fire marshal? Oh, there, you're right in front. Like, we've already met and had really, I think, meaningful conversations about some of these, because you said building department, which is true, but that big set goes, to a plans examiner or the fire department. Really, the critical path, more than anything on these projects, tends to be the power, as Mark knows. And we're already starting conversations about those things because it's funny that it's happening today, but everyone in this room is involved. But then, to your point, the production architect or the architect of record needs to put it all together in a plan set that gets submitted for permits, just like we require from any outside developer or outside builder. So it has that layer after the design build team is actually picked.
I see no more comments from the council. Any public comments on this one item on our consent? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back to council. Any final discussion, or I'll ask for a motion to approve consent item D.
I
was just going to make the motion to approve consent item D.
All right.
Second?
A motion and a second. Do you want voice vote? Okay. Can we get a motion? We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We have one last item on the consent to approve. This is item F. This is a resolution to contract with Napa County for fire protection services for fiscal year 25-26. Councilmember Knight, your question, we'll figure out who needs to answer this.
Thank you. This is just really an opportunity I want for us to just kind of review this, and we have our fire protection here, or the fire department, and CAL FIRE, and I asked Cecilia King, our administrative director, before, just to quickly review this contract amendment. I think may have been when I first was back on the council here in 2020, we may have approved a 3-year or 4-year contract. This Amendment 3 is an extension of 1 year of our current contract, and I just wanted to take an opportunity for the community just to give an update on why this item is on consent, because public safety is a big part of our general fund budget, and we appreciate all the services that we receive from law enforcement and the fire departments, and so just a quick answer, a question about why we've added Amendment 3 to this consent calendar item.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Knight. So this is to extend the agreement for 1 year. It's technically an agreement that has language that says it does not expire. It automatically renews unless it is terminated. So this was to extend it for 1 year with a specified dollar amount, which is the amount that matches what was in the budget, of an increase of 5%. And that will allow us to have future conversations and discussions with Napa County about further amendments to the contract, so that we can have more time to discuss that, since it did actually expire in June of 2024. And so it automatically renewed for 24-25, and now for 25-26, we have it renewed with a specified dollar amount.
Okay, thank you. So this just gives an opportunity. It continues the contract, and then we'll see in a year then, or through your negotiations, discussions, and next year we'll see a new, maybe 3-year or some type of contract in 2026?
Correct. There will be another amendment, and it should be for multiple years with set dollar amounts.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Tripp, question?
And I will say I did not look up the original contract, but we had just renewed it when I came on in the council, so that was, I think, in January of 2023. And wasn't there a cost escalation that went beyond 2025, or am I incorrect about that?
It was in August of 2023, and there were 2 years included. So I think that was for fiscal year 23-24 and fiscal year 24-25.
Okay, so this is a territory that wasn't covered by the original agreement.
Correct. And so we assumed a 5% increase, and that is what the amendment is adjusting for.
Okay. I totally applaud the one-year approach because the services are incredibly valuable, but we did go through a very large increase, as I recall, it was 25-30% at the time, over 2 years. So I really applaud the idea of just further discussions.
Yeah, I'll add, because it was before I got here, but I know that Cal Fire, who is obviously the staffs the department through county, had, when they have negotiations at the state level, there's a trickle-down effect that can happen pretty quickly. And so there was some staffing that was added through the MOU, as I understand it, at the state level, and that trickled down to us, and that was the major impact. And then it's JR, right? Yeah, okay, so we have a new county fire administrator, is that your title? That is the county rep. So I just wanted to introduce JR because they did come in, JR and JC came in, and who shot JR? No, it was a good conversation because I appreciated that they said, listen, we're working all of this, but we want to work within your budget number because we had already adopted our budget. But I think there's always going to be conversations between the county and the state that we have to get ahead of so that we know what's coming. And I think the surprise factor is the key issue to avoid. So we'll do that. But we also have a third partner in, obviously Calvet and the Veterans Home. So it's a tricky negotiation. But they did come in. Thankfully, we are within our budgeted amount. But we're already starting the conversation, I will tell you, for next year because it's not a simple equation. So, but thank you for at least 1 year. We'll see how next year goes.
Okay, I think that's all the council questions. Do we have any public comment on this consent calendar item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for the last approval to finish off our consent calendar item, which is item F. Can we get a motion, please?
Mayor, I'll move approval of consent calendar item F.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? We have approved all of our consent calendar items unanimously. Thank you very much, council, for that discussion. Guest presentation. So we have this listed as public safety updates because before we after we had put together our agenda, we weren't real sure who was all going to make it here, so we have a full house of everybody we invited. So first we're going to have PG&E come up, followed by our sheriff, and then Cal Fire. So please come up and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, good.
So I'm Mark with Pacific Gas and Electric, and I manage the local government affairs for Marin and Napa County, and thanks for the invitation. I will go through the presentation fairly briefly, and that'll just allow more time for questions, and I certainly don't want to slow down the presentation from our sheriff and firefighters. So we'll get right into it. We're going to cover enhanced power line safety settings and some of the reliability. I think that's come up as a question a few times, and customer resources along with vegetation management. Really quick and we've covered this before at council, so I'll be quick, and then if you have questions, we can come back to it.
Okay, thank you.
Enhanced power line safety settings. Very simply, if there's an animal, a tree branch, the full tree, car, mylar balloons, whatever it is, if it hits the power lines run in and out of some high fire threat areas as they come in and serve the town of Yountville. We turn those power lines off very quickly, within 1/10 of a second, to avoid the potential for ignition. We patrol the lines, we send out customer alerts, we turn the power back on. So that's how it works. The whole idea is to shut power off very quickly to avoid arcing and sparking. Different than a public safety power shutoff. So we have enhanced power safety settings and a public safety power shutoff. If something hits our lines, we don't know when that's going to happen or where it's going to happen, and we don't know, what the cause might be. If we have a public safety power shutoff, we're looking at that 3 days ahead, typically. Sometimes it can be faster, but we're monitoring this regularly. I will be talking with city managers. I'll talk with council members and update staff that, hey, we're monitoring a weather event. Typically, it's going to be very hot days, red flag days, low humidity, very low fuel moistures, just potential for fast-moving fires, and always accompanied with wind. So anywhere from 10, 15, up to 30 miles an hour and higher. So that makes us pretty nervous. That's when we're going to proactively turn the power off. It's been a while. I can't remember when last, but it's been some time since Yountville has had a public safety power shut off. Thankfully, you truly are in the middle of the valley, and you don't have the same sort of impacts that they have up in Calistoga, Angwin, St. Lena, or maybe even on the eastern side, like Atlas Peak areas and such. So difference between the two of those. Reliability. So as I mentioned, the circuits that serve the city come through some fairly wooded areas. There's the river, there's the vineyards coming up Silverado Trail and across, even coming up along Highway 29. There are a number of natural resources, again, usually vegetation, where we have potential for impacts. And so the reliability for the enhanced power safety settings is shown here. I tried to get us a review of the last few years. So going back to 2022, somebody's going to say somewhere, well, I know there was more than 4 outages. These are outages when we've activated the enhanced power safety settings, all right? So it's not all outages. It's just in the time. So we'll activate the enhanced power safety settings usually May or June when it starts to get warmer, drier, windier, that sort of thing. So just to clarify, not all outages. If somebody's going to say, I had 6, 7, 8. These are enhanced power safety settings. So what we're trying to show, though, is that the work that we're doing is ideally, not necessarily in this case. We have 4 outages, and we had 5, 3 hours. The goal is to bring down the number of outages, and when there's an outage, to bring down the duration, right? So we should see those 2 numbers trend downward as we start to look at this year over year. So now we're down to 2, but the average duration went up. Sometimes the duration can depend on what the cause is. So I'd have to dig deeper into this and find out, well, 2024, why was it 9? Why do we have a 9-hour average? If a car has run into a pole, that's going to take a lot longer to restore than somebody going out and finding out that a tree branch is laying across the lines, taking it off and turning the power right back on. Also, we're also trying to get the customer counts down. So, 2022, 333, 606 in 23, and then in 2024, 207. Back up again. So in 2024, more people. But again, number of outages, duration down. Those are the 3 that we're trying to bring all down. Ideally, no outages and no customers are experiencing anything. Again, this is just a summary, of what we've seen, 22 to 24. It's a short duration in time. We're still dialing this in, the program. We're getting better at identifying areas where we need to install animal guards, do more vegetation work, put up some resources that us allow to more quickly determine where the outage is to quickly restore power. So we have the number of customers is down. The average outage length is up, but I would say that in this year and the following years, all those numbers are going to come down. All right, vegetation management. As I just mentioned, we are trying to reduce potential impacts to the lines. That's going to provide for fire safety overall, removing the chances of arcing and sparking and potential fire ignitions, and also the impacts of animals, tree branches, birds' nests, any kind of animal or vegetation-related impacts. Not much we can do if there's somebody who's coming down Silverado Trail at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, not paying attention or otherwise, and running into one of our power poles. So the work that we're doing, it's hard to see, I apologize, but if you look at the image on the left, the purple line, it's just highlighted. The purple line that's our Pueblo 2104. That's just a name. That's the one that's coming up from the south of town along Highway 29. I'll call it the southwest part of town. The image on the right is what we call the Pueblo 2102. That's the one that runs up along, Big Ranch Road over to Silverado Trail, Yountville Cross, and again, you can see it's all highlighted in purple. So that's how the the two power segments come in to serve the town. What the crews did recently, we've talked about it a few months back, is they've updated or upgraded the Pueblo 2104 such that if we lose power on the circuit, the 2102 coming in from the other way, that they can do what they call backfeeding and restore power much more quickly than they were able to do in the past. So I just thought I'd give you a quick image of, where does the power come from on these two circuits? One's coming from the northeast side, if you want to call it that, and the southwest. And you can see the terrain in there and where the lines go through. There is a lot of potential for vegetation or animal impacts.
While you're there, will you address the gold highlights? You've got and for me,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
green, and then there's gold.
Absolutely. So what you'll see, or I'll point it out, hopefully you'll see it, is that on the left side you have sort of this dark purple, this purplish color. That's where the gold is on the right image, and on the right image where you have the dark purple, that's the gold at the top image. So they're alternating the highlights. The gold color, or the orange gold color, that's where we have overhead lines. So those are the overhead lines. Where you see the green, that's all underground. Okay. So that's what those are. If I took the highlighter off, the purple lines would both show up as orange or gold. I highlighted them here so that you could see the difference between the two circuits as they come into the town. So you'll see the one on the bottom is coming up from the south and the west, and the other one's coming in, Silverado Trail from the north and the east. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Really quickly, too, I know I'm moving through this fast. I invite any council members, staff, if it helps, I can go into a deeper dive if we want to set up a meeting and take a deeper look at, well, where's the power come from, how's it work, et cetera. So what are we doing to keep the power on for the customers and the businesses? One of the things that we're doing that'll be coming up in the next quarter, in the fourth quarter, is we're going to be patrolling those two circuits, which I just showed you. They're going to patrol the entire length of it and double check to make sure that we have the vegetation far enough away from the lines. They're going to take a look at strike potential. That's if a tree is leaning in a particular direction, may appear healthy to the average person, but if we find reasons to suspect that it could lean or fall into those lines, we'll be cutting it back or performing some work on it to make sure that it's not either the branches or the entire tree are not falling into those lines. I won't read all of this here, but we don't expect a significant amount of work other than sort of annual pruning, which most people are familiar with, coming along, and that's required by the CPUC just to maintain certain distances. A lot of the work we're expecting to see is going to be on private property and in the hills around the town. People can read this and use the links. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but we do have a lot of programs for customers. We get a lot of questions about affordability. I just want to make sure that people know who are watching this online that this slide deck is available or probably can be at some point.
It will be included in the packet.
Perfect. So, there are opportunities for people to find out how to save money. And then if we happen to have public safety power shutoffs, here's some additional resources. Number one thing I ask people to do, update your contact information. It's really critical for people to go. If you haven't done it in a long time, I'm guilty of this. I found out that I was using an email address that was probably 20 years old. From when we bought our house and I set up the account and I had this old email. So thankfully I updated that about 3 or 4 years ago. I will say that we recognize the town has some mobile home communities that are on what we call a master meter, and that the master meter is seen sometimes in our system as one customer. So if I am seeing an outage in the town of Yountville and I can see that it's in that general area, I am alerting our crews as much as possible to let them know, hey, that's not one, that's 200 or whatever the number is there. The challenge that we have is getting word out to those folks. I'm going to look into it. We had, and I can't find it, but I'll look to see if I can find. We had a way where customers could put an address into the system and get notifications about power outages at that ad for the account holder of that address. So if I want to know if my kid's school is out of power or my office or work is out of power, whatever some family member lives in Reading, you can monitor and make sure that they're okay and check in on them. We could probably use that tool for people who said, well, I want to get an alert when the power goes out to this address being that master meter. I couldn't quite find it, so I will be looking to see if we can and then provide it to the city manager and staff. So there's that. Again, medical baseline program, strongly encourage people to self-enroll in that program. Again, we have self-identified vulnerable program. There was a time people had to get a doctor's permission or a written note, that sort of thing. People can really do this on their own and not see a doctor or anything of that nature. I'll stop. I know we got other people to do some presenting. Happy to answer questions.
I have one question. Has the skilled nursing facility up at the Veterans Home, has that been fully energized yet? I'm asking because if it hasn't, I'm just wondering if there's any potential. It's going to be a big facility. So when you flip the switch, this is my little, basic mind about electricity.
I don't communicate. So we have specific people identified in the same way that I'm the representative to work directly with the cities. We have people that work with either state agencies or school districts. So when we have, so something like that facility, we have somebody specially assigned to it. Let me follow up with them and ask them where we're at on that.
Okay, that'd be helpful. All right, any other questions, electricity questions for Mark? All right, thank you very much for coming. We have the Vice Mayor. So we might be asking you to come back periodically. So thank you very much for the update.
I'm just down the road. I'm happy to drive up here.
Okay, one more question from the Vice Mayor.
Or more than one. So after a EPSS or a PSPS, when you're monitoring the lines to make sure you can power them back up, why can't you use drones instead of helicopters? It would be so much quicker.
Well, we do. We may not use them here. I can ask our team why we
You can literally see the helicopters.
Right. Seems like they'd be less impactful, et cetera. Let me ask, I don't know the answer why we don't. It could be a matter of resources, yeah.
Okay. And yes, in the measurements that you provided for 22 and 23, when you said there were like 330 households affected, I was going to say, yes, only 1 meter at 2 of the largest communities, so that those numbers are kind of skewed. So in 2023, I believe it was, after I got on council, we flipped over the south side of town into what we thought was going to be the rest of the community, so the outages would be very similar. It still seems like there's 2 sources, the Pueblo 2102 and 4. The last month and a half, we've had 3 outages. One was caused by something unknown. And then we had a repair on the corner of Mulberry in front of the sheriff's station. And that was communicated to us like the afternoon. So I'm grateful that the town clerk and town manager made a phone call so I could at least communicate it through a private Facebook channel to the 250 plus residents that live in Rancho. But then this last week we had it again, and here I am 6:30 at dinner getting a phone call saying, hey, there's going to be an outage, right? So, I mean, the lack of communication and the time to prepare, and let's just say we are grateful that it's nighttime, that we appreciate that, but it's not working for the southern part of the town to get the communication because of that master meter. We can go online and get updates and say estimated time of repair, but we're not getting the communication from community management, especially if it's after their office closes. So we've got to, are you doing any more repair in the upcoming time? And why is it always the south side of Yountville?
Sure. Well, two things. One, the underground. I believe it's underground. You may know more about it than I do, but there's a vault there. Yeah, it's underground
At the Veterans Park.
Yeah.
You've had like 12 trucks there, and then still we didn't get notice
And
that it was going to be out.
Well, they didn't know. So the first time they went out there, they didn't know that there was it was just
Something
it
they
was
were
filled
gonna
up
discover.
with water. Some of the equipment broke. They had to vac out all the water. They had, I think, 17 total trucks of water. It was a lot. And they're familiar with doing this all the time, and they were saying, "Oh, this is not stopping." Still curious to know where all the water's coming from, but it's sort of irrelevant. So they had to take the water out, get in, replace the equipment. That they did. They had that just happened. So no notice of that, right? The following, there was another outage that we took place. We scheduled it so that we could not do it during the business hours, not do it during the main restaurant hours. And that, I think you said, was in front of the sheriff's station, sort of in the landscaping there. Again, the difference between what we call a planned outage and emergency work is typically a planned outage. We're going to notify all the customers who are going to be without power within 10 days or more via written letter, and there's a process to do that. But when we see the work has to be done quickly, or there could be we can get in there and do the work planned in a planned fashion and coordinate the crews and the work and notify the town and schedule it, right? We can do that. Or they're concerned that there could be a failure. So now it's an unplanned outage in the middle of the day on a Saturday. Everybody's in the shops. So that's the reason for the lack of notice, because typically there would be, right? For all the people who are account holders. So that's a general notification system and how it happens. To the master metered parks, I think that's something we're going to have to work on coordinating, because we are sending the communications. Now, as an example, there are the park owner who owns the account and who owns who owns the access into their account online, could list 5 or 6 different phone numbers that would get those alerts. So if the park management or whoever has checked out for the day and gone home at 5 p.m., someone or multiple people at the park, they could be volunteers and approved by the management to get those notifications, and then perhaps there's some sort of internal park system that there could be an alert to everyone. But that would be, again, it's the account holder. It's a thing to talk with the park owners about. But sure, they could add in 5 or 6 different text, email, phone numbers, and that might be the way to go.
That's one way to get some communication. And then my last question is, we had discussed that perhaps we would be going to direct meter in the future, that was happening. I have it in a text thread that you were under the impression that a lot of the manufactured home communities were going to start going direct.
Let me follow up. I'm meeting with the city of Novato tomorrow. They own a mobile home park there that is doing the master meter conversion. I know that the town does not own this one, but let me find out what's the process to see where those are on the list.
Okay, thank you very much.
Assuming that the owners have made the application to convert over, because that's a whole different thing.
So the owners have to ask for it. Okay.
And thanks for coming, Mark. I wanted to just clarify for those in the crowd, when Vice Mayor McKee was saying community management, you were talking about park management.
Yeah.
And the town we've been working much better together. I want to say, communication through Hillary was great. It's always hard to get everyone everything, and clearly the parks are a special issue. I will just point out, and I know that we have fire, and then we have the owner of the estate that just came in. Like the fact that I watched you at the second outage, or I watched your crews wait for Bistro Jante to close, literally wait for them to close the door. I know it's different for hotels because they have guests overnight, but solved a lot of headaches for me, because obviously I get the calls, like if the power goes out, the restaurants will immediately be like, what's going on, because they have to make a decision, right? Are they going to close or not? So that improvement was really, at least for me, a real thank you for that, because I feel like customer service is becoming a priority, and I know you said that your new regional manager has prioritized this, and We appreciate it.
Yeah, our CEO, our regional vice president, we have a goal, right? It's a goal to obtain a 10 out of 10 customer satisfaction. Now, before there's, well, I couldn't stop you before you laughed. We're working to get there, and what I would say is that we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 to 29,000 employees. And I can tell you already, and it's just one of those things where you have to be in a place for a while to see the cultural changes that take place. Just like the city's, slowly evolving. It's just you'd have to live here for a really long time.
Changes are coming.
So I will just say that there was a time where people would show up to town, and I'd say, "Hold on, now you need. There's a noise ordinance. There's a light ordinance. There's we got to be respectful and notify." No. That would just be laughable. I'd be laughed out, right? Get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. So now today you have crews that hopefully usually are showing up and saying, well, let's hold on a second. Let's think about this and take a good approach to customer satisfaction. So safety is always number one. Restoring power quickly is always our top priority. But hopefully we're doing those things in a fashion that's providing the best service to as many people as we can, knowing that somebody's going to be inconvenienced during that process, and we just try and inform them and work with them as best as we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. See you in a few months. All right. Napa Sheriff, you want to come on up and introduce yourself?
All right, thank you, Mayor and Town Council. On behalf of Sheriff Ortiz, I am your Yountville liaison, Sergeant James Baumgartner. I'm here to present the 2025 informational report. I think September, October, we'll go and drive into more of a stat-driven report. As fire season is here, you have it here. This brings back memories of the 2017 Tubbs fire. This devastated Napa and Sonoma County. And firsthand knowledge of trying to evacuate people in that area was extremely difficult. And in 2020, the sheriff and Senator Bill Dodd passed a law allowing our vehicles to be equipped with this high-low siren. All of emergency services are now outfitting all their vehicles. All the surrounding agencies, Sonoma, Solano, Lake, Yolo, immediately got on board, equipped their vehicles, and many more since then throughout the state of California has followed suit. Also with this high-low siren, we have the capability of doing audible instruction either in English and Spanish, or just English at the time, or just Spanish at the time. And it gives a specific notification that this is an evacuation, this is an evacuation, this is an evacuation. And so I'd like to just present that high-low siren to you right now. So when you hear this siren, this only means one thing. This high-low siren means go. That's it. That's the only thing it means. High-low, you go. We don't use this siren to respond code 3 to a call. We don't use this siren to go through intersections. It is a separate button in our cars. Once we are activated, once CAL FIRE says, hey, we need you at this location, we get to that location and we start using this high-low siren. So it only means one thing, and that is go. So it's very important for me to educate the public on this high-low siren. Also, it goes hand in hand with the siren is Alert Napa County. And everybody has heard of, you remember Nixle, this was a a system that issued broad county alerts, and Ready Napa County is more specific. Everbridge now customizes these alerts through an app, your cell phone, your landline, email, etc. And I have a really 1 minute video that kind of explains this more depth. It allows me to be quiet. I don't want to take time from CAL FIRE.
Changes are coming to emergency alerts in Napa County, and that means alerts more specific to you. You may recognize Nixle. That's the platform the county has been using to issue broad, county-wide alerts. Soon, you'll be able to customize alerts through Alert Napa County, powered by Everbridge. From severe weather and evacuations to major traffic issues, Alert Napa County will keep you up to date with critical information to help you and your loved ones make informed decisions. Now is the time to register your contact information through Alert Napa County. You can then select location-based alerts, city, town, address, zip code, and more. You select what you want to receive. You can also choose how you get those notifications, through the app, your cell phone, by landline, and email. Sign up by going to readynapacounty.org. Get ready for the launch of Alert Napa County, powered by Everbridge, coming April 15th.
So Everbridge came and is up and running, and that, like I said, it goes hand in hand. We go through with this high-low siren. You go, grab your go bag that you have prepared, right? Grab your pet, your loved one, and you go, but you don't know why. You don't know where. You don't know what's going on. You just know you need to go. So that's why this is also important. It gives the who, what, why, when, where aspect of it. No? There you go. As we move, as we approach the end of 2025, I personally look forward to working with the town on these entertainment zones and events that are coming up. And I want to assure you that our public safety, your public safety, is our number one goal. And that'll be directed by my staffing. As you know, the contract has 3 deputies and myself. If this entertainment zone or this event causes road closures, we will be using proper equipment such as vehicles and our new portable median barriers that we have purchased after watching the devastation that hit Louisiana. So we will be getting those and we will be using those. Again, we will be enforcing the law if it's just education. It is just education, but we do have citations and we will make arrests. With that said, be safe, have fun, obviously, and we can't forget Yountville Night Out, July 30th, 2025. We're looking forward to partaking in that, and that wraps up this.
And you'll be rolling out the high-low siren at that event at each one of our stops, correct?
That is correct. I think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to use an actual patrol car. I don't want to cause confusion, cause any kind of confusion. So we are going to do it. I'm going to probably use a microphone, and it'll be quick, and it'll be just a reminder of what people can do and how they can research the information. But yes, it will be audible.
Okay, and one last question on the alerts, because sometimes when we have those alerts, I hear from people, I didn't get them. Do I have to sign up? I think we need some clarity on that. Is that something that you can...
Yeah, so Brianna with the Office of Emergency Services, she has provided us with over 300 packets that will explain all of this, I do believe. And we will be handing all that out at Yountville Night Out as well.
Okay, great. Looking forward to it. We had a great time last year, and many people really appreciated it, so looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Quickly, with the high-low sound, I was under the impression that the audible would also say, in case of dam flood, drive to the south, drive to the north. Is there any direction in?
We could program it to say whatever we want.
Okay.
It's easy. We can program it to, like I said, it's either English or Spanish or both, and we program it what to say.
It can quickly be customized. And I think taking the high-low to our resort staff and make sure that keep people at the front desks so they tune in and know and have a backup plan.
Sure.
Would be smart. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, that's all the questions from us at this end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hillary, for helping.
Cal Fire,
Sergeant.
you're up.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor and Town Council. So my name is Matt Ryan. I'm the Fire Chief of the Napa County Fire Department and Unit Chief of the Sonoma Lake Napa Cal Fire Unit. I just want to say the cornerstone of most fire departments, Napa County Fire Department and Cal Fire, is truly customer service. We are honored that Napa County decided to approve a 3-year contract with Cal Fire, which will extend us into 96 years of service within Napa County. And truly, my goal as the fire chief is to extend that into that century mark moving forward. It allows us to serve the residents of Napa County, with pride and professionalism, especially here in the town of Yountville. We are especially grateful with what our Yountville station provides to this community, the community outreach that we are able to participate in this community is absolutely amazing. And we really are very excited to continue our relationship and our partnership with the town moving forward for the 1-year extension and hopefully many more years to come. And with a operational update, I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Deputy Chief J.C. Greenberg.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Town Council. J.C. Greenberg, Deputy Fire Chief here in Napa County and Cal Fire. Wanted to provide you during this update on operationally what's going on. We're nearing mid-July now. Fire season's here. Where are we at compared to last year? So last year we had high temps, numerous fires that started in early June, and in fact even the end of May here in Napa County itself. We moved through the July 4th era. We had fires burning up in Calistoga last year, and then locally here in the North State, we had the large devastating park fire up and out of Butte County area. So where are we at this year? We've had mild climate that we've all enjoyed, thankfully. So a reprieve for us on this fire season itself. The temps have escalated and forecasted through the end of this month. Fuel moistures is what we monitor. So where are the fuel moistures at, which is the receptive fuels that are ready to burn. And indications are that we are drying out drastically. But what is the change here? The change is the temperature and the reprieve of the winds. So the winds are what cause us problems here, just as we've seen in 2017, 2020. So we're monitoring that as we move into the peak in the shoulder season up in August, September, when these north winds do escalate around here. Hopefully we don't see those, but that is something that we are staffed and ready for. But currently to date here in Napa County, we have had some small fires and we've had great success putting them out with our crews and aerial assets that are here in the county and with Cal Fire here. So along with this fire season locally here in Napa County, some of the other resources we were able to bring back is Cal Fire has a Chinook helicopter staffed again this year at the Napa County Airport. So this has been the last couple years, and our fire chief worked hard with Sacramento to have that resource positioned here at the Napa County Airport once again. And this is a aerial asset that can fly during the day, fly during the night, holds 2,300 gallons of water. It's available throughout the region here, but we are fortunate enough to have it housed here in Napa County. Also, some of the preparedness stuff I want to highlight with the Napa County Sheriff's Department. So we have worked with our battalion chiefs and the Sheriff's Office to have joint trainings for what we call Unified Command. This is when we have a fire, we have an incident command post. We're doing trainings continuously with the Sheriff's Department for these orderly evacuations so that we are working hand in hand through the Genesis Know Your Zone evacuation areas, how these are executed, how they're communicated, how we're broadcasting this to the public for evacuations. You got a sample of the high-low siren so that we can go into targeted areas and actually get those residents evacuated, give them accurate directions on where we want them to go, so that we're not just telling them to evacuate and then they go to the wrong direction. So this is very purposeful with the evacuation routes out of here so that we're not creating bottlenecks all in one area, and we can actually get these residents out of the immediate danger area and then work our way out. And we use what's called orders and warnings. And so with this team effort, through the past fires, through the new upgraded systems, this is something that we continually work on with all of our field folks and with the Sheriff's Office and OES here. So great improvement there, well exercised, and we are ready if we do need to use those. Next, I'm going to talk about some fuel reduction projects centered around here on the western side of Yountville. And I understand that when we look at the town of Yountville and we drive north to south and we talk about fuel mitigation and we talk about chipping, and how is that relevant? Well, when you take a look in the valley here and in the town itself, your biggest threat here in the town is the lands on the outside. So as we saw in 2017 and 2020, when the wind surface and fire brands move miles at a time, those are the threats. So the glass fire in 2020 was on the eastern side of Silverado Trail. And with those winds, we had embercast that went across Silverado Trail, Highway 29, above the CIA, and now we have fires on the other side of the valley. So if you take a look at the geographical area here, that is a probability of what we saw north of here. If you take a look at these large fires that we've had here in the county, it affects not only the populations, but the economies. So from our restaurants, our tasting rooms, our hotels, our resorts, those experience during those large fires a reduction in service and tourists and patrons coming to the towns. So it's important that, you know, as a town itself, we look outside of not just fuel reduction here and having our residents prepared, but what are your neighbors and landowners doing on the outside? Because that greatly inhibits what happens in future fire events. And so that's where I want to dive in and talk about some of these western areas. So the Bald Mountain Ridge that's located on the western side of the Napa and Sonoma County line. So CAL FIRE, Napa County Fire, Napa FireWise has been working on doing some existing fuel breaks up there that we use in these historical fires. We're reopening those fire lines so that we have an area that's on that geographical ridgeline to hold these fires. So that work's going on right now. Some other areas is up on Wall Road. So we actually have our CAL FIRE crews and Napa FireWise and our free chipping program here in the county is up there opening up those fuel breaks that run along Wall Road that connect back into the Dry Creek area. And those are strategic areas that we're able to compartmentalize, hold these fires so they're not moving to the southwest into the lower areas. And I will highlight that our Napa County Fire Free Chipping Program that's actually operated by our Fire Administrator, J.R. Rogers, that program's still up and running. So residents have the opportunity to do that defensible space work, have an opportunity to sign up and have those materials chipped and disposed of at no charge to them at all. So it's been a successful program for over 20 years now, provided to the public, funded by the County of Napa to help out. And the town of Yountville and properties adjacent are open to use that, even though it is funded by the county with this agreement that we have in place here. The last one I want to talk about is the Veterans Home. So we, last time we met a few months ago, we talked about a fuel break that we are working on up towards Veterans Peak, and that has been completed, and now we are extending with our CAL FIRE dozers all the way up to that ridgeline there on a historical fuel break that's going to help out. So we're really working from the Vets Home all the way to the west up on those ridge lines so that we have these opportunities in line so that we have places to hold these fires. We can use our air tankers, our helicopters, our ground resources. This work's done ahead of the fires, and that's the important thing we need to understand here. Next, I'm going to move into some local activity here in the town of Yountville. So this past spring, and just as late as June 25th, we had 2 fires, structure fires here in the town of Yountville. Crews were on them quick. We were able to minimize the damage. But what I do want to highlight with this new CAL FIRE Napa County Cooperative Agreement that was just signed on June 24th, and with your agreement that we appreciate and proud to serve here, approved today, we were able to add in from the county funded side the fire prevention officers that will do the investigations for these fires throughout the county and here in the town of Yountville. That is funded by the county, but the services are provided here, and we did have that opportunity to use those fire prevention officers back on June 25th on Yountville Crossroads for one of your fires there, and that is an active open case that is working through the investigative processes right now. So a great resource to work with our sheriff's department here so that we can work into those fires and get the investigations done. Next thing I want to move into is our volunteers up at Station 15 or Rutherford. These are the volunteers. These are the ones just neighbor to the north of you. Huge support on the operational side of helping out on these fires or incidents, emergency activities that are here in the town. They're an auxiliary source to our Station 12, but a great support, and there's no charge or fees for that, but these volunteers are a part of our response system here. Last part on my list is I want to introduce a new guest and a returnee. Our battalion chief behind me here, I'll have him step forward, but Jason Novak, a familiar face here in the Valley as far as a responder, and a promotion through the ranks and a transfer back to this Yountville area. So he'll be serving here with Chief Durlew in the Yountville area, and I'm going to have him come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief. Well, nice to see all of you, meet all of you. Good afternoon. My name is Jason Novak. I've been with CAL FIRE for since '99, and I've had the privilege to work in a bunch of different programs, but also in a bunch of different geographical areas, from Reading all the way down to San Jose. I will say in '09, I came here as an engineer, as a driver here at Yountville Station, and I worked as an engineer, and then I promoted into the Napa County training captain. And as much as I've traveled up and down the state, I will say that when the opportunity came for me to come back here as the chief officer, it was probably one of the highlights of my career. This town is special. This county is very special. I've been all over the place, and I've seen how amazing, and I will say that trust is hard to give, but I will be working every day to gain it from this community. Thank you.
Okay, next we are going to turn over to our fire marshal for an update, and then we'll take any questions.
All right, great, thank you.
All right, thanks, Chief. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the Town Council. Nice to be back in front of you again today. Jason Downs, Napa County Fire Marshal, and the Town of Yountville's Fire Marshal. And first of all, I think it's just helpful to understand what is the Fire Marshal's function and what do we do. And we've got several responsibilities, but it can really be broken down into sort of three primary areas. One, fire and life safety, and that includes annual business inspections, existing businesses, new construction, and then we have a large vegetation management program. As you heard, a lot of the projects that are going on, and that's our defensible space inspectors, coordination with our chipping program, our fire safe councils, CAL FIRE, et cetera. And then last but not least is public education. Public education is the responsibility of the fire department as a whole, but the responsibility to sort of manage those programs and provide some of those services is managed through our office. And that's managed by Deputy Fire Marshal Eric Hernandez. So now that we have that brief understanding of some of our primary roles and functions, I'd like to just go over some brief highlights of what we've accomplished here and what we've done here for the town of Yountville. First of all, state-mandated inspections. The state requires us to inspect occupancies like schools, multifamily dwellings, and hotels. And we've completed 100% of those in 2024. And we plan to begin our 2025 annual inspections in October, and will likely run through December. Construction inspections. As we know, development and new construction is ongoing here in Yountville. We actively participate in those plan reviews and those construction inspections with residential and commercial projects, and we look at things like fire suppression systems, fire department access, water supply, maintaining general fire and life safety code compliance, and we work closely with Aaron and John in their respective teams. Next, special events. A lot of special events here in town, and we also look at the fire and life safety components for those special events, and we coordinate with EMS and law enforcement and develop and ensure those needs are in place based on the size and scale of the event that's taken place. So that's ongoing as well. Last but not least, we talked a little bit about public education. And one thing I'd like to highlight is we recently purchased a brand new fire extinguisher prop. And that's being used with the help of our stations around the county for various community groups, businesses on how to properly and safely use fire extinguishers. And lastly, we just heard from Chief Greenberg about the new fire investigators that are being provided to the county and to the town through CAL FIRE. But the Fire Marshal's Office will also serve as a liaison to assist with those investigations as needed, and more importantly, be a liaison between the business owners and the building department and the fire department to ensure that we provide a path and a way forward for these businesses to reopen safely. Thank you.
All right. So what I'm going to do before you have some final.
No, we'll take any questions.
Okay. We held. Well, I wasn't there, but we have two members from our emergency readiness commission or committee. They met yesterday. I wanted them to give a quick update because I think there'll be some questions that come from that. We'll incorporate all the questions together. So,
hey, Mayor and Vice Mayor, before you start, I just want to say one thing that wasn't said, which I think is important. Under Chief Ryan and Chief Ham in the back, we are working on the ISO rating. We restarted that process, which is basically what insurance companies use to look at fire risk. I'll tell you, it's probably a 6-month process. We restarted it, I should say, a month or two ago. So I want to just thank you all for your commitment to that. We'll work through it. It's a technical process, and I think the business owners in the crowd will appreciate it once we are able to hopefully upgrade. Because I'm confident that Yountville it'll be an upgrade to service or upgrade.
Reduction in the ISO rating.
There you go. Yeah, we want to go from we want to be a 1. We want to be a 1 ultimately. So I just wanted to point that out, that we did restart that. Thank you, all the chiefs in the room, because it's a challenging process, but I think we'll get through it, and I think there will be benefits to our residents and businesses.
Okay, so Councilmember Knight and I are on the Emergency Preparedness Committee, and we want to thank Sheriff Baumgartner as well as Deputy Chief Greenberg for meeting with us to discuss the possibility and exploring and installing a fixed alert system, siren, in Yountville that would add to the county's existing mobile emergency communication system. The idea of such a system was brought forward following the 2017 fires, and again, due to recent flooding in Texas. A few residents have been reaching out in support of the idea. So the thought would be that such a system would be an added and beneficial alert, layering on top of what's already in place. But after our hour-and-a-half meeting, and after beating you guys over the head with a million questions, I want to say that I think Councilmember and I are both in agreement that because the threats in town can be so varied, from earthquake to flooding, from the river to fire to the possibility of a failure at the dam, the responses need to be very structurally different from each other. And so we have come to the realization that having a siren go off at town hall or wherever we post it with no clear instructions would only cause panic. So I know Eric had a little bit to add to this about the mobile.
Yeah. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for meeting with us. It was a good meeting. I appreciate our town clerk organizing the meeting too, so it was a good meeting, so thank you. It was just, a good discussion, kind of eye-opening, because we talk about it in the valley. Growing up here, there's fixed siren alerts or alerts for up valley for volunteer firefighters that people hear, but to really better understand that a potential fixed siren alert may not provide the direction that residents needs, and what certainly concerned both council members we talked about is it's creating uncertainty and fear about hearing an alarm and not knowing what it was for and what action someone could take. And so what we heard from Sergeant Baumgartner and from Deputy Chief Greenberg was the success of really using a mobile alerts and the high-low where you could go into neighborhoods where it may be, in terms of, you talked about orders and warnings, that there may be a warning for one neighborhood, even as small as Yountville, but an order for another neighborhood to get up immediately and leave, and that a mobile alert system, I think I felt, and Vice Mayor felt, was a more certain message for residents that they would know immediately what to do, while we entertained and listened to the possibilities of a fixed siren alert, that could be more challenging and maybe scarier for residents when they wouldn't know what action to take. So thank you for your time. It was a good meeting. I think we'll meet again in October, and it might be interesting just to hear. You mentioned we would check in to see the type of alert systems that occur throughout the valley and up valley, and to hear more about that. But I feel like what we learned yesterday was that we have the best system in place for this community now, with a high-low mobile alert to give people immediate direction for what they need to do. So thanks for your time.
We also briefly discussed plans for this summer's events. We'll be doing some forums for safety, as well as our famous cookouts, and plans for communication, starting with Yountville Night Out on the 30th, to give that a plug. We appreciate that you'll be on hand and doing the high-low system and giving your knowledge to our community as much as possible. Between our town clerk and our events, we hope that everybody gets on board and knows the system. So thank you very much.
And what we also talked about is, in the past, we've had some really interesting workshops with Know Your Neighbor, and it's really what started and created and encouraged Yountville Night Out, is to really have a better idea of who's in your neighborhood and how people, just neighbors, may need help in an emergency. So we plan to maybe do more workshops in the future for Know Your Neighbor, so people that want to get involved in their specific neighborhoods can learn about how to do that. So.
Yep.
I just want to thank both of you for having that meeting and bringing in the sheriff and fire on that, because I know it's been a topic that's been going around in some emails. I think you really made a great decision. It just seems like, the technology has gone beyond, having one siren that one size kind of fits all. Plus, we've got this unique community, our veterans home up there, that is totally different than a lot of the mobile residents, not mobile home residents, but those two, down on, this side of 29. So it really needs to be more tailored than just having one loud siren that you really don't know what it means. So I totally concur. That's a great idea, that you've kind of a solution that I can certainly live with as well.
They had to convince me. I know I took a little convincing, but I appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So any other questions from council, now that we've got our men in blue and our sheriff, we've got everybody here. So yes, we'll take public comment. Please come up.
Thank you, Alan Tencher. I had two questions. First, with respect to the mobile alert as opposed to a fixed alert. What percentage of the time is a deputy not in Yountville, and how long would the response time be if something happens, midnight, the dam breaks? How long will it take before that officer and his vehicle is spreading the word?
I see Sheriff Baumgartner. Yes.
Baumgartner will come up and
thank you for the question. Yountville is staffed 24/7. We have myself working Monday through Thursday. We also have another deputy working Monday through Thursday, day shift 6 to 6. We have Thursday through Sunday, 6 to 6, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. And then our graveyard guy is working Thursday through Sunday, a 2 to 2 shift. So it is covered 24/7. When somebody is not in Yountville, Yountville is considered beat 3, and there's at least one or two of the Valley beat 3 for the Napa Sheriff's Department working. As far as your time for a call of service, we're if you walk by at lunchtime, you're going to see probably 6 to 9 cars out there every single day. Yountville is a centrally located area. We all kind of hang out. We have lunch. We do trainings. So your contract has 3-in-1, but you're well over that 3-in-1 every single day.
Yeah, to add up on one of your questions, because we didn't have this answer yesterday, but John Ferns did look at the map as it relates to earthquake, potential dam failure. What I remember seeing, John, was, and in essence, if that occurred, it's about an hour for the water to flood Yountville. And even at the flood levels of Rector at full capacity, we're looking at sort of 2 feet down by the mobile home parks.
Yes, the volume of water from the dam in a tragic dam failure, it would take about an hour to get to the middle of town or the south end of town, and the volume of water that we would expect is less than we see on the FEMA maps for the 100-year flood. And so those of the town residents who benefit from the flood protection project would also be protected in the event of a dam failure, which would likely be less than a 100-year storm event.
Okay, great. Thank you for having that information. More questions?
Yes. So just
could you just you need to face this way because our camera looks this way. So
I'd like to talk to the people I'm talking to, and I know I'm talking to you, but I'm asking questions.
Yeah, they'll be able to hear you. Thanks.
Well,
I want our audience out there in TV land to hear you as well.
I'm not worried about them hearing me. I'm trying to just make sure, as I do with each of you, to make a solid connection. So just to recap. As far as coverage, we have 100%, 24/7. If somebody's not here, they're being covered. So thank you for that. Can't help it. So this, after the fire marshal was here several weeks ago, he and I had a conversation out in the lobby to follow up on a big concern of mine, which is Yountville Hill and the fuel loads, especially on the north side, but also on the west side, the area above Blanquier Winery, and to the immediate north of Domaine Chandon. Those are, in my mind, vastly overgrown. I've seen fire come over the top with my young children 15 years ago, and that is a horrifying experience. And if the wind had been in a different direction, our experience would be very different. So I followed up with Jason, sent an email. I believe he was going to pass that on to Eric, and I still haven't heard a response on whether anything is going to be done with the landowner on Yountville Hill and whether there's anything that can be done to reduce the fuel loads to the west of Blanquier and to the north of Domaine Chandon. Thank you.
Great. We'll ask if anybody would like to come up and address that question. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your question. He's right. We were back here a couple weeks ago, LRA, local maps, severity maps, and I did bring that to Eric's attention, and I think Eric's got some specific info. Good. So we can get you the answers you need.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Eric Hernandez, Deputy Fire Marshal, oversee the Vegetation Management Program. So ever since we received the complaint, we've actually reached out to Domaine Chandon. We've actually done a tour with them. In addition to that, on the west side of that, we've also worked with other wineries to as part of our strategic fuel reduction projects and the master plan, we allocate some time to make sure to seek opportunities to see if there's any additional fuel reduction projects. While defensible space only focuses on 100 feet, a minimum of 100 feet around structures, which that is already being met, we're also working with our partners from Firewise to establish additional fuel reduction projects. The other project that's crucial for this particular community as well that benefits is there's right behind Nickel, there's another road that what's the name of that road? Oakville Grade. At the very top. Yes. So we've actually. I think it's in the valley. So we've done a fuel reduction project that goes from Oakville grade all the way to the end, which ties in almost to the veterans home. So that's another strategic fuel reduction project that we've done. We've worked with some of the wineries in the western side of Nickel. So there is work being done there that's beyond the defensible space.
All right. Thank you very much for those questions. Any further questions from the council? All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. I'll give you a few minutes. We're going to move into a public hearing, so unless you're dying to hear about a new restaurant we might be approving, this is a good time to exit through the door. Thank you guys for coming.
And some of them are great softball players. They played the Vets this last weekend, and they can hit that ball.
All right. Now I can identify public comment, any public comment clearly. All right. I've got a long list, but I really think this is going to be fairly quick. So this is once I introduce the item, this is going to be a public hearing. So once I announce the item, I'm going to ask the council if they happen to have any disclosures or conflicts, and then I'll be opening the public hearing. I'll ask the planning director or their staff for their report. I will ask the applicant or their representative, and you can consider yourself a team. You'll have 15 minutes total to give your presentation. You don't have to take it all up, but you will have up to that amount of time. I'll bring it back to council and see if they have any questions for the staff or the applicant. And then we'll go to public comment, since if our public is still here. And after that, we'll allow the applicant time for any rebuttals. If you hear anything from the public or the staff you'd like to clarify, again, 15 minutes, but you don't have to take all that time. And then I'll allow staff time also to address any public comment or applicant rebuttal. Bring it back to council for any further questions. I'll close the public hearing, and then it'll be time for the council to deliberate. Same procedure for everybody. So with that, I am going to announce that we're have a public hearing item, which is considering adopting a resolution conditionally approving the design review application for a project located at 6539 Washington Street and finding the proposed project to be exempt from California Environmental Quality Act, known as CEQA. So with that, does the council have any disclosures or conflicts of interest they would like to announce? Great.
Would we be made aware if our houses were in close proximity? I would think.
Yes, Gary. I think Gary would have checked. Were you able to check all the maps? I know I'm
Lori
not.
might be closer, but we're both.
I actually have the map, but I don't think
Interesting about the vintage estate properties, there's different parcels.
If we do need to pause for a moment, we should.
Map. One second while you check the map.
I got the map right here.
First of all, it would be the parcel of the restaurant. It wouldn't be the whole estate parcel.
It's a separate.
Close to the restaurant.
Yeah, I don't see any overlapping map.
Yeah, it is a separate parcel, so there are several there. So make sure we're
I cross over
calculating
into
it
the
from the
vintage
right one.
inn parcel, but I don't cross into the Grosinger parcel.
Yeah, we're here with Hillary.
Based on our analysis, there are no recusals.
Aaron's confirming.
Yeah, based on our.
No conflict.
Thank you.
The restaurant's right here.
I'm close.
That's my copy of it, too.
And so
We see no circles, so I'm going to move on. So I'll officially go ahead and open the public hearing, and now our planning director and staff, who's also on the Zoom screen, can you provide us with your report for this item, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So this is, as you alluded to, a design review for the former Perry Langs and before that Compadre space. And we have Carrie Sponsorm, our contract planner, who will be presenting this item this afternoon.
Thank you, Director Heacock. I will get my
screen share up so you can see the pictures, which is always more interesting to me.
And can you state your name for us, please?
Sorry, Carrie Swanstrom, Swanstream Studios, and pleased to be here this evening. As noted, this project is on the estate Yountville, and it is an existing building formerly occupied by compadres and then Perry Lang's. And the estate Yountville is looking to renovate the building and open it as a new restaurant to be named, I believe. The design review application before you today is for two different modifications. One is the addition of a new outdoor seating terrace, which would replace the south patio outdoor seating. And the other is modifications to the existing building without any expansions. In terms of the south patio, you can see on the left the existing patio, which was much more hidden from the front of the building, is a larger patio than the replacement that is proposed. The replacement on the right is a proposed terrace seating that actually wraps around the entire eastern edge of the building, as well as a portion of the north side. Provides a softening of the front elevation with the new wood trellis and the seating, and will hopefully help to activate that side of the building in downtown. There is no change to the number of seating allowed for the restaurant. They had 170 seats previously, with 50 on the existing south patio. The proposed terrace would be 76 seats. However, the interior seating is being reduced from 120 to 94 seats. So the total of 170 seats is remaining. The changes, so this is a roof view. You can see the very fine grain L of the terrace roof structure that wraps around the building at the top of the screen and on the left. And then the other large change they're doing is on the dining room, which is the north, the left of the screen here. They are removing the singular hip roof that is there. The southern portion will remain, but the northern portion will be changed to a gable roof with skylights. And I do have some updated drawings from the applicant. The existing elevation on the east side. So as you're looking at it from Washington Street in downtown, you see on the very sort of the larger singular hip roof, and then the below is what's proposed to modify that to provide the dining room as a more separate space within the building. The portion between the sunroom on the very south side and the new dining room area with the gable roof is bar, back bar, and the kitchen beyond. And those are remaining generally the same. There will be some modification to the windows and doors on both the east and the north side to accommodate the new terrace and make sure things line up appropriately. Additionally, the chimney and fireplace, which is currently in the dining room, you can see it dashed outlined on the upper image, is being removed and would become actually doors out onto the terrace. This is a image of what the wraparound seating of the terrace would look like. That's number 7 on the screen. 10 is the dining room, which is, again, still the same general space. The central area, 8 and 11 of the bar and back bar and kitchen area. And then number 9 is the sunroom. The sunroom is changing slightly. That was approved at a staff level. It's the same walls and footprint, but they are changing the roof to be a more modern, straight, flat roof. The one issue that staff had identified and the applicant provided a tree report for was the proximity of a couple of heritage trees to the new terrace, particularly on the north and northeast side. There's a heritage oak and a deodar cedar. They did provide an arborist report and tree protection conditions, including using sand-set pavers on the north side of the building to allow for breathing and aeration of the roots, tree protection during construction, and a number of other tree care items. Our former town arborist, Tony Walcott, reviewed the report prior to the Zoning and Design Review Board meeting and was particularly pleased with the protections recommended. And so we have included those in the conditions of approval for the project as the main specific conditions beyond the town's standard conditions. The ZDRB did hear the project at their July 8th meeting and adopted a resolution recommending that town council approve the project. So we are recommending that you hold the public hearing, adopt resolution 254733, which would approve the design review and find the project exempt under CEQA. And the sections listed there, 301, 303, 304, all relate to modifying an existing building. And the 61B3 is the common sense exemption. And the approval would be subject to the conditions in Exhibit A, conditions of approval, which is related to the tree protection plan for the main specific, and then the town's other standard conditions. To sum the ZDRB review of the project, there was no public comment at that meeting, just as we have received no public comments for tonight's item. But they were very supportive of the project, very excited about the design being very nicely detailed and activating the downtown side of the building. They did kind of wish the hedge could be perhaps trimmed a bit that edges the parking lot so that the building would be more visible, because it is, they did find it to be an attractive design. And so that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Let's see. Now I'd like to ask the applicant, would you like to come up and give us a report?
My name is Gary Jabbar. I'm the owner of the estate. Thank you, Mayor, Town Council, for having me here. Appreciate all the work everybody's done with us so far. My architect's not here today, John Taft, but hopefully I can answer any questions that you might have. A little bit of background: we tried to be respectful of the former uses, and so Backen, who's our architect, they did a great job. Howard worked on this originally before he passed. John's been shepherding it up until now. We kept the use the same. We kept the footprint the same. We kept the seating the same. We just tried our best to make it more beautiful for the town. The Backen folks are fantastic. I think they delivered a beautiful product. We will be removing that hedge, by the way, because the last thing in the world we want it to be is hidden. Yeah, we're just super excited to get it underway. We're a week or so from picking our general contractor. We've got a couple that are neck and neck right now. We're close to signing the contract, so as soon as we get through this process and then maybe some building comments and whatnot, we'll be ready to start. So we anticipate about a 6-month build because it really is I like to call it a remodel. It's a big remodel, but I like to call it a remodel, not a new build for sure. I think we can get through it in about 6 months. So we're anticipating being finished around January, February, and open for next year's season.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You have a name?
Yes, we do. The name is Wild. It's WYLDE, And our chef on the property, if you're not aware yet, her name is Rebecca Weitzman, and she's a Michelin-starred chef. She comes to us from Flora Farms down in Cabo. She worked in New York with Bobby Flay. She's won Chopped. She's very, very talented, and it will be a Spanish, Portuguese, Basque tapas restaurant with a lot of Spanish guitar and Spanish music. I think it'll be a lot of fun for the town and for the valley and for the city. Something a little more exciting.
Great. I just had to ask, and I got an answer. That was great.
Ah, wow.
Well,
And a date.
That was a long process to get to that point, and it's a long process for the chef and everybody that's working on the finishes and the interiors and all of that stuff to get to that point. So we're super excited about it.
Great. So as I mentioned earlier, this will be time now for council can ask questions of our staff on Zoom or the applicant standing at the podium. So Councilmember Knight, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I had one question of staff. Maybe I'll start with our applicant, but I just wanted to thank you for bringing this project forward. I strongly support it. It's going to be a beautiful project, and I think a lot of people in the community are going to be excited to see that this building active again. Many people in the community spent a lot of time in that building when it was compadres, but your theme, it seems like we're getting a feel for how that building will be with the work you've done on Clementine, that whitewashing of the brick and all that work.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful addition, and it's going to be, I look forward to the completion of the other building. They're going to complement each other well, and thank you.
Same designer.
Yeah, that's great.
Designer in both places.
Yeah, I think it'll be beautiful, and so thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a quick question of our contract planner. Just in your report somewhere, you mentioned the concept of a retail overlay, and I didn't realize that there was a retail overlay district and that far north in Washington Street. We had something years ago south of in the area by Ranch Market and all that. But is there a retail overlay in that area?
In just a moment, I should be able to pull up the zoning map. And I can just share that. So the retail overlay goes almost to the, I don't believe the hotel to the north, the Vintage House Inn is in the retail overlay, but it does start at this site.
Okay, good. I just didn't realize. I know we had one down like south of Mulberry, and I didn't realize we had it to such a full extent on the west side of Washington Street. So, thank you.
Yep.
Vice Mayor, questions, staff, or the applicant?
Probably would be for staff, but it is beautiful, and yeah, based on the hills of Clementine, I know it's going to be a very bright light on that side of town. So thank you for activating it, or in the future, in January. I'm curious about the back of the building. There's so much attention to the front of it, and from the highway, I believe you can see that space. So I'm kind of curious. If I see the tree report, most things are going to remain existing, but as people drive by Yountville and see kind of the back of the vintage or the V Marketplace, and that is set back close to the highway, I'm wondering if there's been any focus to kind of shine a bright light on what's happening.
Not really. I mean, we actually try really hard to grow all the foliage back on the freeway there, because behind that restaurant is it's a lot of infrastructure for the hotel. We've got our trash compaction, we've got our washers and dryers back there, we've got our engineering back there and whatnot. So it's not the prettiest place that you want to visit. So
it's back of the house.
We just probably plant more trees back there and keep it hidden from the freeway, but it's all back of house.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
it helps with noise as well.
Yeah.
Councilmember Reeves.
It does.
I want to echo also, we're really thrilled to have a project and a possibility of more action in town. But my question actually has to do with maybe the design. And this is, I know Bakken and Bakken by reputation and by being in many of those houses in the valley. But when I looked at elevation, the east elevation, where it shows the gable roof sort of cut off, and then, or no, the hip roof cut off,
Sure.
and then the gable roof on this side, and there's more hip on the left side than there is on the right, and it kind of drew my eye and thought, oh, that's not right.
No, it's a really great observation. It really doesn't look good in elevation, but you'll never see it from that angle because the building sits on a rise on that lot, and so you'll never really be that high in the parking lot. And there's a lot of foliage that covers that part of the building. There's trees in front of the building and whatnot, which really aren't shown on the elevation. So you'll never see that hip that's been cut off with the new ridge. I promise you won't see it, because I see what you see on that elevation. And John and I argued about it, and I'm confident that you'll never see it.
Carrie, do you want to pull up page 5 of the plan set?
Yeah, you'll
The rendering.
It's a good observation, though, because when you look at it just in a clean elevation like that from the front, you won't see it that way.
Okay.
But I hear you. In fact, I mentioned that to our director of food and beverage, Rudy, that's sitting here. When that came up, I said, that somebody's going to say something about that. You will see it from that angle, but you won't see it from the front angle.
Aaron, is this the page?
Yeah, I just think that rendering's better than the 2D elevation.
But if you well, there's trees that are existing in front of that.
Yeah, there's a number of maple trees along the frontage that are being maintained, but there will be a new walkway up because it'll be upgraded to be an ADA walkway.
Okay. Okay.
I promise you won't see it.
Thank you.
I promise you. I saw it too, but.
Councilmember Tripp, questions?
Quick question. I noticed you've kind of kept the same number of diners or occupancy, but moved more people outside, fewer inside. I was just curious, was that to keep it within the existing limits, or do you actually want fewer people inside? Or
I think we want more people outside.
Okay.
I think I like to eat outside. And I told, Howard and John, I said, we want to eat outside because it's so pretty here.
And do you have heaters or just curiosity?
Yeah, we'll have heaters. Okay. And, perhaps, in the wintertime, remember here, in the wintertime, it's quiet. But at night it's cool. And our busy season is, May to September. And so we're still a little chilly at night. But if I just kind of, if it mirrors hotel occupancy, which it always does, 70%, 60% occupancy in a restaurant will fill the inside, but may not fill the outside. But there's a lot of things we can do to shield it from the rain and the weather and stuff. I don't think there was any motivation other than the fact I'd prefer to have outside seating. I just like it outside. I mean, everywhere I go in town, if they got outside seating, I'd rather have an outside seat. And I think most people would agree. But in doing so, we wanted to make the inside just as beautiful as the outside. So that's why on that new dining room ridge, it's a glass ceiling. So you're pretty much outside when you're inside. And then the sunroom is all glass all the way around. So it'll feel like a very inside-outside restaurant. And then on the north end of the building, where the fireplace is, we got rid of the fireplace. I don't like fireplaces. That's why we don't use any of the fireplaces in the hotel anymore. That northern wall's got two huge glass door openings. So there's a lot of light in that place. And I just wanted to create something that's, more enjoyable and more beautiful for a dining experience and just for town.
Well, I very much appreciate it. I think everybody does. And moving the outside a little closer to Washington Street, I think will be really kind of energizing for the town. So thank you. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to compliment the staff report. I loved the chart that basically laid it all out that said nothing's really changing. It was really helpful. So thank you. A very nice report.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all the questions for us at this time. So I'm going to call and see if the public. You can sit down and we'll see if public. We might be back up, but does the public have any questions or comments? So the public has no questions or comments. We're going through this quickly. So this is applicant time to address any rebuttals. I don't think we've heard any rebuttals. I think you've already responded to anything that we've raised. Staff time. You want to respond to anything? This is great. We're down to the...
Nothing else to add at this time.
All right. I'm going to ask the council if they have any further questions for staff or the applicant. No one will even look at me. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for deliberation and a motion. Who would like to go first? I know my buttons aren't lit up, so I am going to go first. Get everyone going. Great project. I love the name. Thanks for giving us a little preview of what kind of food. Tapas and Spanish and big scoop here. So, if you're not listening, if you snooze, you lose. We'll have to be spread by rumor mill, which will travel fast. So thank you very much for that. So great project. You have my full support. Looking forward to it. And we're available for ribbon cuttings when you're ready. So Councilmember Reeves.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
Anybody? Okay.
I think, no comment is good comment. So just take that as that. So Councilmember Reeves.
I move adoption of resolution number 25-4377. Oh, you just covered everything up. Okay. Conditionally approving the design review application for a project located at 6539 Washington Street and finding the proposed project to be exempt from CEQA.
Thank you.
I will second.
The motion is second. Now it's time for a final vote. Is anybody in favor? Say we're going to hit our buttons. We have to use them at least one time to get the cobwebs out here.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. So we have unanimous approval, following unanimous approval from the ZDRB. And thank you very much, and thanks for coming.
Thank you guys, and thank you to staff, Aaron and the team, and Carrie, everybody's done such a great job. You guys are great to work with.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. We're almost there. Administrative regular items. Staff. Nothing.
We don't have any items on the agenda.
Okay. Any staff presentation or informational reports?
Yeah, I just wanted to, as part of my actually outside presentation, because I'm your representative on the NVTC, the Napa Valley Tourism Corporation, we did have a meeting, I want to say 3 weeks ago. I'm also on the ad hoc committee where there's been several meetings. The final vote for the renewal, which is the county supervisors, has been postponed to August 5th. Since we have a meeting at the same time, it's unlikely we will attend, depending on when they have that agenda item. But it appears things are moving forward based on some of the recommendations that both the Council of Yountville and the Council of Calistoga has made. Most of this is bylaws and sort of governance issues as it relates to potential conflicts of interest, et cetera. So I just wanted you to know that meeting did get postponed to August 5th. I expect that it will move forward, but there will continue to be a dialogue as it relates to our role. And I can answer any questions.
So I have a couple questions. So do you think the Board of Supervisors will include a lot of the the changes to that Calistoga and Yountville have asked for?
Well, the hope is, and we're trying to figure out if NVTC can meet prior to August 5th in a special meeting, because really the changes are at the NVTC and the VNV level within the bylaws.
Right.
So the meeting is more leverage, let's call it, to make sure that those things are accepted, mainly by Visit Napa Valley. So it's hard for me to tell you the sequence of events, but I feel like there's an honest dialogue going on, and certain things have already been agreed to.
Okay.
But stay tuned.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other?
I'm looking at the
Staff
department heads
presentations.
who are, Celia has.
I could just reiterate at this meeting what was talked about at one of the authorities meetings, that the town did issue an RFP for financial advisory services, specifically related to the Yountville Commons Development Project. So that is open until July 21st. We've already received one proposal, and we hope to receive a few more, and then bring at the August 5th meeting a contract for town council to review.
All right. Do you have a question for Celia?
I do.
Okay.
So we have a regular financial advisor, correct? Columbia Capital?
We do have Columbia Capital, who we've worked with in the past. They are mostly doing just some compliance on existing debt. This would be more specific, I believe, to the Yountville Commons Development Project and the financing and funding for that.
So it would be limited, not limited, but it would be for that purpose as opposed to
More
whatever,
focused.
advice we have been getting in the past.
Correct, yes.
But we could merge those two, just so you know. So we'll see what happens through the RFP process.
Okay, so today I used Perplexity to make sure I understood what a bond underwriter was, and you know, they do a lot of financial analysis and look at the viability of a project, because obviously that goes to how it will get paid back. So is this so whoever we go out to get, will they be the bond underwriter? No.
No.
Will they help them, or how does that work, I guess is my question.
There's a, if you don't mind me, you want?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's a triangle, as I like to think of it, with the bond underwriter and the bond counsel and the FA, or the financial advisor. The financial advisor's role is to represent the town. So this means they oversee whatever process. There's several processes you can go through when you issue bonds. Competitive versus more of a partnership, because a lot of times you're trying to time things and there's a lot of market related issues. So no, their role is to represent us in the transaction. And then the underwriters, obviously, they're the ones issued to the debt. The council makes sure it's all, legal.
So the financial advisor would be the consultant that would help us just vet our financial projections on, the housing and whatnot.
Yeah, they would.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do the underwriters do that as well? Or?
Sure. Well, I mean, they ultimately have to underwrite it, so they would have to
Sell them.
Yeah, sell them, which requires the big document, which is what takes all the time is to develop the statement of, what do we call the statement of indebtedness or whatever. There's a process, but the FA is our advisor. They're intended to not only look at the numbers, but to look at the process, because there's two levels of advice. What's your capacity, but what's the best process to get there?
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Celia.
Are you done, Celia? Yes. Okay, quick project update from the Public Works world. 2 high-profile projects that are happening. I want to reassure everybody. The Washington Street Corridor project is moving ahead. We have a contractor doing the concrete work now in advance of the bigger paving project. We had the pre-construction meeting with the paving contractor last week and expressed our concerns and desires for schedules and things like that. So they've gone away and are doing their homework, and we're meeting them again this week to get more proposed schedule. As soon as we know what the schedule is, we'll be publishing it through the town's clerk's department and letting everybody know what the project will be and how it will go. The other project, it's not quite as large scale, but it is the barbecue and outdoor kitchen project at the community center. We did a punch list walkthrough with the contractor. He's still working on finishing up the project. So what you will see tomorrow is the project in its near complete form. However, the appliances are not connected and some finished work still needs to be done. And so we are working with the town clerk's office again to schedule the grand opening at a later date. And with that, I'll hand it off to Hillary.
Lovely segue. Thank you, Director
Well,
Ferentz.
I have a question before you segue here on me. So at flood control today, we heard, I don't think we'd really heard about this before, but we had a really nice update on the storm, the county JPA for the stormwater systems, which Yountville is part of that. And we're waiting on this permit, which is 8 years overdue. Can you just give us, the rest of the council, a little bit of update on how that works and how you work with the county and those systems? Because we actually pay into that, correct?
Yes. So there's an overriding regulation that's called the NPDES, National Pollution Emission. I forgot. It's the goal. It's a federal program that issues regulations to regulate stormwater quality. And so each local agency is tasked with meeting federal, state, and local guidelines for stormwater quality. It's a bit of a tall task for small agencies, and when I say small agencies, I would say agencies the size of the Napa Valley. And so many years ago, the agencies in the Napa Valley formed a JPA to combine forces, and we have a representative that's an employee of the county who heads the stormwater JPA, and we meet monthly as a group with all the agencies in the valley to keep up on these things. But the stormwater regulations are for multiple things. The big ticket items are sediment into the waterways during construction or vineyard or any kind of construction dirt activity. That's the big high profile one that everybody sees, but there is also efforts for ensuring that our outfalls to the creeks and the rivers are maintained and kept clean, as well as the total maximum demand, TMDL, total maximum demand load for the river is met in terms of stormwater quality. And so in order, the group, the stormwater group, the JPA, has been working with the California Regional Water Quality Control Board because the federal agencies that run all of this are changing the guidelines and making them more stricter. And we have been working with the water board and negotiating the terms of that permit. And so the new NPDES permit is been a long time coming, and we're on the verge of receiving it. And it's beneficial to us that we were able to negotiate it, because for agencies like us, the regulations were proposing to require physical testing of the stormwater at the outfalls and things like that, which was a whole nother process similar to what you see in the water and wastewater world. And for agencies of our size that have little to no pollutants being added to the stormwater systems, we were able to manage a permit that we can live with and still protect the environment, but meet the guidelines of the permit.
And then I found out that our flood control board, actually, we approve your budget. So if the budget based on this new permit and the new regulations come up, that's how that will get approved. So thanks for that explanation for the council, because I learned a lot about that today.
Mayor, I have a couple
question?
questions for Director Ferentz.
Yes.
I just was a quick update maybe on where we're at with recycled water. We continually approve the piping for recycled water and where we're at.
So the recycled water line project still exists. You see it every meeting on your consent calendar for the purposes of funding and procurement. And we appreciate that because it makes the process easier. We are at the very end of our negotiations with the Department of Fish and Wildlife about the regulations and the permit it's called a stream bed alteration permit that they will issue for the project. There were some details regarding the existing pipe that we negotiated with them. In parallel with that, we have a civil engineering design for a horizontal directional bore to replace that pipeline. 3 or 4 weeks ago, we met with our civil engineer and the horizontal drilling contractor and identified some challenges with getting the equipment to the location that it needs to do the boring. And so we're working on those challenges now in terms of access over vineyard roads and narrow bridges and things like that. I think they're all easily overcome, but we do have to address them so we're not detrimentally affecting the vineyards as we access them for this project. And so our goal still, even though it's getting late in the season, is to do something later this season. And if not, it'll get bumped to next season. The critical path item right now is the Department of Fish and Wildlife and whether we can get the streambed alteration agreement in time to move forward this season.
Thank you. And then just a quick thank you for the Vice Mayor. As a part of our emergency preparedness, the Vice Mayor had sent me a map on dam inundation. They're basically dam inundation maps for all of dams in California. Rector was on there. I think you can go to waters.ca.gov and look at that map. And when you open it up, it showed some water intrusion into Yountville through Rancho and Bella Vista, but it seemed to me odd that it may not have reflected the flood control work we had done now almost 25 years ago, and you answered that it did not reflect the fact that there is a flood wall around those two communities or neighborhoods, which in my mind, it was pretty amazing. There was very little flood impact from a dam break from Rector because of our elevations and location and the Napa River and things like that. So if someone's curious, they can look at that. It was reassuring that the work we've done over the years has really protected our community. And so thank you for getting us that information.
Absolutely.
All right. Now a segue.
It's hard to follow that. Quick reminder that tomorrow will be the first community cookout of the season. It won't essentially be a cookout, but it will be a gathering featuring Napa County Resource Conservation District, who will be doing a talk on climate-friendly gardening. So please join us at the Community Center barbecue area from 4 to 6 p.m. And looking forward into August, on August 13th, we are hoping tentatively to hold the ribbon cutting for the area. And again, Yountville Night Out is coming up on July the 30th with a series of block parties throughout town. Look out for information to come from your neighborhood hosts for that. And for those not in a neighborhood having a block party, we will be having an event at the Yountville Community Center, and the veterans are welcome to join us there. And we look forward to continuing our education and outreach.
So there will be no food tomorrow. Is that what you're telling us?
There will definitely be food, but the firefighters are off the hook for the grill this time around. There will be light refreshments and snacks, some pinwheel rolls, and accoutrement.
All right. Great.
I think it'd actually be nice because you'll be able to walk around and kind of see it without it. Right. You can go into the bar area, or whatever we're calling the areas, but you'll be able to see everything. And then the goal is August 13th to cut the ribbon and have everything pretty.
And the August 13th timing, what time would that be? Is it an actual barbecue as well, or just the ribbon cutting?
It's a dual event.
No, that's the hope, because the appliances will be installed. So once they're installed, we want to use them.
So it'll be at like 4 o'clock?
4 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
And perhaps we could get the fire department to bring out that new fire extinguisher training tool they mentioned earlier.
Exciting.
Yeah.
We also have a pizza oven, so we're thinking about how we could do pizzas. So.
Yeah. And bar seating. Yeah. All right. We is at the end of our staff presentations. Now let's last one, council external meeting reports. I've got a couple. Let's see. MVTA met last month, June 18th. Just quickly, it was Kate Miller, our executive director's last meeting, and Danielle Schmidt will be our new executive directors, and we have a meeting tomorrow. And there was just some minor updates to the countywide transportation plan. Anything else you wanted to add? And I met this morning with the Flood Control and Water Conservation District. We are getting there, almost. So just quickly, where we are, we have 100% plan check approval. So you'll hear a lot of these similar type words and throughout when we talk about the commons. And the plan check approval is with our partners, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the design recommendations are all complete. The technical requirements, the NP documents are complete, EIR is complete, project partnership. We're going to be having an official signing with the Army Corps of Engineers. Everything will be signed off September the 16th. So we will be able to then start construction once we sign that off, and we expect all the property rights that you've heard me talk about and everything that we're going through, making offers and eminent domain. We expect all that to be concluded by the end of September. Then we can award the construction contract in the end of 2025, and we will start building in 2026 for that next phase of the flood wall. So with that, do we have any other council updates? Thank you very much for emergency preparedness and allowing us to move that up. And Councilmember Reeves.
So the Climate Action Committee met on June 27th, and I think the big topic was trying to figure out how to proceed with the RCAP and what kind of environmental review it would require and what would be workable for each jurisdiction. And there were a lot of comments from about the need for more information from the working group, which is all of the staffs of all of the jurisdictions, looking at what would be the best way to pursue. And I think we kind of punted it down the road to the August meeting. It looks like it will be a neg deck. Can you, like?
They're going to start with an initial study, and that may lead into a mitigated negative declaration. But they're going to start with an initial study and see what the result is, and to see how to move forward. They're hoping that will inform how to best move forward.
Right. It's like we have to do the work twice in a way, because we're not, any of us, sure about how to get from A to B. And I think a lot of the jurisdictions are a little bit worried about what will come about once the RCAP is in motion. And I think maybe the other piece that will be something that this council should be thinking about is that, again, it was brought up that maybe the CAC should turn into a higher authority, not just a loose, what do we call ourselves?
Advisory group?
Advisory group,
Yep.
Right, and to be more of an authority and have this independent voting thing, which brings about all the questions about who's on it and how many votes do you get and all of those things. So it's something that maybe we can bring up in a subsequent discussion with the council about what our role would be, and the fact that we're moving from the idea of creating this RCAP. Now we're going to be moving into implementation, where this group really isn't that functional with the implementation. It's more about staff time and staff decisions and capacity and all that. So that whole thing needs a discussion.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, we're targeting September 16th for that discussion. And I know that there's another meeting and there's a sequence that's going through. And I also understand, as part of the budget for the initial study, there's a technical advisor that's been granted one meeting per jurisdiction.
Right.
And I think the opportunity for that person to come to the September 16th meeting to be before you all, I still don't even know who this person is, but as the city managers, we talked about it. And so I think we're all trying to do that before October. So whether it's September 16th or what would it be, October 4th or whatever, we're not on the October over there yet, but whatever the first meeting, one of those two meetings would be the meeting where we as a council hear all of this. Clearly, there's a lot of angles to it, and I think it's just one step at a time, like anything that's complicated. So thank you for the report, but we are intending to have that meeting with the council before the decision point.
Okay, I don't see any lights on. Looks like we're at the end of the agenda. That's a wrap for today. So I'd like a motion so that we can adjourn to our next regular council meeting on Tuesday, August the 5th at 3 p.m.
Move to adjourn until August the 5th at 3 p.m.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. No abstentions or going to vote no. All right, there you have it. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. I got a text.
Thanks, Jason, for turning off the